So Carlos, are you ready? I stumped him twice. The first wandering monster, we did Recovery in the Mist Marsh, and a little girl was kidnapped with partial elven blood. They went in. They thought there were zombies and they were needle men, so I got them that time.
Oh.
Yeah,
that was fun.
And they couldn't figure out what Mirror of the Mists was. And she was a fox.
My players had
fox
fun
woman.
Too. Oh yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
My players had fun. We did the 7th session today. They're still 0 level and they're still in the same village. But
oh my gosh,
they killed Vakunis. Damn, they
no
killed
way.
Vakunis.
0 levels?
They critted 4 times over. And,
oh my gosh.
They had a help, but I never thought he would actually make it. And then they ran up and thanks to my flanking rules, but there were many of them, that they overbear someone, so to speak. So yep. And they took him by surprise. They just ran up and just pummeled him senseless.
Wow, well, that's cool.
Yeah, he never thought they would.
Good for the players. I'm glad when they do well every once in a while.
Yeah, I thought that he will be an NPC that will run through the campaign, but no way. He got killed session 7, which is kind of interesting.
Ideas, huh?
Oh yeah. That's what I love about sandboxes. You never know what's going to happen. So yeah.
Not at all. No.
They had a little bit of help, so about half of the damage they did, and they just ganged up on him and pummeled him senseless. They didn't take, they just took all the chances. And
now the wrath's going to come down on them.
How are you feeling?
Oh, good.
Everybody healthy and happy in your house?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
well,
good.
Minnie is kind of old and frail and stuff, but she's hanging in there, and I just opened a new bag of treats, so she's happy.
Awesome.
I have to ask that every time I see one of my friends, and I haven't spoken to you for a while.
Yeah.
Because you can't take that for granted.
Exactly. How are you doing, Carlos?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. The cat is. You were talking about your pet. My cat is starting to. She's learned. I have spiral stairs in my house in the second floor.
Yeah.
And I think that's what inspired Marquez's spiral stairs in her all of her dungeons that she has. But she's learned now to walk up and down the stairs happily. So it's a good thing. Amanda and I are
it's wonderful.
I came upstairs and she was laying in bed with Amanda, humbling up, and that's the first time I think I've ever seen her do that. So that was good. She's such an important part of our lives that it's it's one of those things. We just
yeah, it's like family. Hey Amanda,
really.
You guys hear us? Please tell me you can hear me.
Yeah,
I can us talking in the background. Please tell me that.
I can hear you just fine.
Really looking forward to this discussion today.
Did you get a chance to check out Anna the heraldry I sent?
Yes, it's fantastic. I sent you a reply back. It's awesome. Yeah,
I love it. Reply.
It will be on my it will be on my next edition of the map, and I just love it. So that was awesome.
Nice. Good to hear.
As long as you thought it was aesthetically pleasing too, because
I think it's perfect. And you got like the Keelland version and a version where the pirates are kind of doing their own thing and so on. So I think it was super cool. So
good.
That was just my thinking of it, meaning you tie into the heraldry with there, use the colors, and bring in new symbology and stuff. I think it was awesome. So
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Whenever I send material like that I created to somebody who's an artist like yourself, you get a little self-conscious because you're thinking to yourself, man, I don't know, she's gonna hate this because up to standard or whatever.
No, but I think it was so cool because you used some of what the official symbology from the official ones. You added some of the stuff that I've done and some of the other stuff, and you merged it and you made content. I think that's brilliant. That's I think the way, because heraldry is when you tie into tradition and you build on it, so to speak.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to, it's meaningful to me in the fact that we're a community and we're all kind of adding to this as we go. So it's important for me to work, to do highlight other people's work and things that they've done, in the things that I do. Like, okay, Anna did this, so I'm going to build off of this and make, whatever. So
and I think it's perfect. That's the way you build like a credible fantasy world that is rich and stuff, is to, because each one or even 10 people's creativity is not enough to fill with interesting content. But when you start reading hundreds, then it becomes really cool, so to speak.
Very much. Okay, cool. As long as you dug it, I'm pleased.
Oh yeah,
really all I care.
definitely. Yep.
Whew. This is
I'm
gonna.
honored just to be included and said stuff like that. So, sorry, Jake.
So much. No, you're good. There's so much great stuff going on,
Yep.
which is awesome. It's awesome for all of us. Busy, busy, busy.
Oh my goodness. I can barely know what's up and down anymore. I've been working on this new module. It's crazy elaborate.
The one that you're going to sneak peek tonight?
Yeah, the one I'm going to sneak peek.
I had the cover. I didn't put it in the scroll.
He told me he sent it to me. Sent it to you.
Yep.
I should hope he sent it to me already.
What's up, Katana? Thanks for all the support on last night's stream, bailing out Casey time and time again.
He needs it. Yep.
Oh, you got. That's great, Amanda. You got 3 more boxes in. Awesome. That's good to know. Very, very cool.
Yeah, you have to make print run after print run.
Yeah, it's amazing how much material we're getting in from the printer every day. It seems to me, it's one of those things. It's like I never previously with Castle when we were just starting up, we would get one like every 3 months or something like that.
Right.
But now it seems like literally I'm getting a shipment twice a week right now.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy cool. I think it's one of those things that's really gratifying as a creator, that people are interested enough in your stuff that they care.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, that's the.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is you kind of it gets lost sometimes in the shuffle that hey, people actually give a damn about what you're doing, and when that happens, I mean that's just meat and drink to you as a creator. It's one of those things that I can't even quantify what it really means, as far as the energy it gives you, and when you don't feel like writing that day.
Yeah, that's so true.
You just kind of like, what, I can't let dudes down. I can't let people down, because they're sending me their hard-earned dough. They're telling me how much they like my stuff, how useful it is, or whatever. I guess I don't care if I'm tired. You know what? I'm going to do this, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I was in
I
was in a rotten mood yesterday, and I'm like, I got to get through this tomorrow. This is the Geoff group, and it was a great game. You know what I mean? And then you forget about all the real life stuff for about 5 hours. So, Corey, they're always hot. That's our shtick, man. We know that.
Yeah.
I was kind of in a similar situation yesterday with my own game where I started it up. I started running it, and I'm like, I am totally not feeling this. I'm going to struggle tonight. I can tell.
Yeah.
Because I just don't feel like I have it tonight. But the players kind of drug me.
Players drag you into it. So
yeah, they were like the players were they did a great job, and they fortunately for me their energy kind of rubbed off.
But I totally agree with you, Carlos, and that a lot of people don't realize that once you start being a professional, semi-professional creator, you need to I also feel the pressure. I need to create, so to speak, to earn the trust and the support I get. So yeah, and you don't feel the inspiration every day. So I always try to have like tedious things on hand. So if I don't get the inspiration to pick out new creative things, at least I get tedious, boring stuff. So
yeah, I feel you on that, and it's weird how how do I want to say this? It's kind of like I don't know how Gary must have felt, when he was creating things for his audience, and he was doing things. But I can tell you this: I can only imagine the kind of feel like you built something, you feel like you've cultivated a certain kind of reputation, you just can't let it go. You're like, I don't want to. This is what I've been working for. This has been my dream all my life.
When you
I am
reach
not
it, it's
gonna let it go.
both
It's easy.
exactly. It's both a blessing and a curse because you're reminded of it. Maybe you get people commenting on Facebook, you get email from the website, Discord, whatever, every day, and half of you feel like it's awesome praise, it's fantastic. But if you feel like you're in a bit of a rut that day or that half day, then when you read it, it's like I can't live up to this, and it's kind of
Yes,
it's
I
a
can't live up to
dual-edged
this, and
sword.
there's so much pressure on
Yep.
you to continue to be what people perceive you to be.
Yep.
I think that that's another thing for me is that you're kind of a prisoner to your own success in a way.
Yep.
Where you're kind of people are they have a certain expectation of your products and whatever, and you have to be better than the last one, and sometimes you can't be better than the last one.
No, and you always your worst critic yourself, meaning you need to satisfy your own needs, and they are sometimes worse than or higher than anybody else's needs.
That's so
Oh
true.
yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. It's funny about that, how that works, but it's the truth. It's you feel kind of there's times you just don't have that energy, or you're like, this was a great idea conceptually, this is the best I can execute it. And you're like, it's not quite as good as my last thing, and then you start feeling super self-conscious and anxious about how is this going to be received, because I think it's garbage or whatever. That's weird.
You're like Bruno in the R.A. Salvatore novel after he made that axe or whatever, and he's like, I can't do it ever again as good, right? I mean, I understand kind of, and that's kind of, it's got to be a sad feeling,
Well, it's a weird feeling. It's for me, it's very weird in that I kind of, you feel like you have to top the last one every time, and sometimes there just is no topping the last one. There's no, it represents the best of what you could do.
And also to reach the vision, you have like a vision, I want to do this, and then you feel like you're halfway there, and it's damn, I want to reach this high, and there's like time limits, money limits, technical limits, whatever.
There's also this too, okay? You're kind of a lot of times you're imprisoned by the scope of what you do. Like, for example, I'm writing a module right now that's supposed to be a tournament module for a convention, okay? But it's also for players and everything. So you come up with this concept, and you think, yeah, this will work really well. I like this. I think this has legs. You get halfway through it, and you're like, as a DM, you've done this before a million times too, I'm sure, where you're like, this was a great idea in my head. I don't know how this is going to execute. And then you're kind of like, you're committed to it though. You're thinking to yourself, I don't have time now to back out of this. I have to follow this through to its fruition and make it work. And so, sometimes you find yourself kind of imprisoned by your own design a little bit. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know that I'm explaining it appropriately, but
I totally get you.
As a creator, you kind of find yourself in that situation.
No, I understand. I know what Carlos means. I mean, my guys have been playing with them for 41 years. How hard is it me to throw a curveball to them or throw like something that's really, really out there? See, that's why I love playing these other groups, like with the Geoff and the Cannon Fodder and this All-Star groups, because I haven't seen this stuff. So, for example, last night. Oh, by the way, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. We didn't say hi yet.
Went in from bedroom.
We just went right into
halfway
a discussion.
Please go on, Jay.
I'm Jay Kilor-Kazumba, and we have my partner in crime, Anna Meyer, and our very special guest tonight, Carlos Lising, CSL Entertainment. We're going to talk about creating Greyhawk content. So I know exactly what you're talking about with that. Last night, I wanted to do something that I knew that I could catch them and they wouldn't know what the heck it was. And I got them twice. I was saying, I got them on the Needleman, and no one, only Dave, DM2215 to figured it out, and that was after about a half hour discussions that she was a fox woman.
Yeah.
I kind of threw a little. You really got to know what's up, Tom. You really got to know your monsters and stuff. And I like doing that. And I could do that with my players. That's the third time in 41 years I've used a fox woman. So, and you got to come up with those ideas. But so tonight, this is what we're gonna do. I got a lot of pictures scrolling from. We'll do a little history, and we'll talk. A lot of you know Carlos, but we'll talk about how Carlos got to where he is now, and some maybe he'll share some of his tricks of the trade, and just discuss. The main question that I want to know is how, right, and why. Or two. Now the where goes with why it was placed there, but Carlos has got a whole bunch of great Greyhawk content out there that's already published. So, and I'm honored enough to have one with Carlos that's published now. And there's Zavad up at the, we all know it's hard and hools. And so for that, we got some cool things. I'll talk about the giveaways in about 5-10 minutes after we do initial discussions here, because we got something really cool that we're throwing in there. So, Carlos, why don't you just talk about how you decided to start doing modules and publishing?
Okay. Well, for me, it was really it was a series of events that happened at GaryCon 9. I remember at 8, I went there, and Alan Grohe was running his Castle Greyhawk. And if there's anybody in the community that I have great esteem for, it is Alan. I think he's one of the shining lights of our community as far as a creator. He is one of those kind of people that is so profoundly intelligent that I think it has its own gravity to it. You listen to him speak, and you can't help but feel like that you're in the presence of somebody who really knows of what he speaks. So it's great to talk to him. And I saw that he was running at that show, his version of Castle Greyhawk. I wanted in. Okay, I absolutely wanted in. So I played it, and predictably, it was absolutely amazing. But I wanted to, the next year, I'm one of those kind of people that is, that I feel like once I do something like that happens to me, I kind of want to reciprocate a little bit and do something for that person too. So I said, the next year I want to run an adventure, and I want Alan to play. So I sat at home, and I thought to myself, well, what is really quintessentially Greyhawk that I think he would really like? But something that is not like his absolute main interest, which his main interest is Igwaliv and her whole kind of her mythos, so to speak. But he, so I decided my villain would be Marquesa, and I thought Marquesa would be good because she, to me, is the most evil creature in Greyhawk, as far as the published NPCs and things go. Whereas you have people like Ayus, who's a demon. Yeah, obviously he's evil. You have, Grazit and people like that. Yeah, they're evil. But there's something really personal about Marquesa. There's a real tangible kind of real human element evil to what she does. I mean, she's the Dr. Mengele of Greyhawk. The things that she does to other living sentient creatures is just unspeakable. So I wanted it to be her, and I thought I could really pull it off well. So I wrote a module, and I'm writing this adventure. And again, I'm one of those kind of people that is, I bite off more than I can chew when I create a project. I'm writing the project. I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I kind of made this like published thing that I could give away while I'm at the show? But wouldn't it be cool if I made a cover for it that really was like one of the old school TSR covers? I could give it to like the MVP. Wouldn't it be cool if I had a map? The next thing I knew, I had a published module ready to go. I got there, and through the vicissitudes of fate, I ended up being able to land one of the VIP rooms there, and I held a session for, I think, 12 to 13 players, one of which was Luke Gygax. A lot of the members of this community, like people that I admire and I like Mike Bridges and JC Luxton and people like that, are played in it, and it came off really, really well. And people were, after the whole thing, people were coming up to me, hey, you got to run another game, you got to run a pickup, you got to run all this. Okay, yeah, I'll do whatever. But then they saw the module, and they said, what the hell is that thing? and I showed it to him. I'm kind of self-conscious. Well, here it is, and that is the most awesome thing I've ever seen. Where can I buy it? Want to buy that? You're interested in my module? Yeah, absolutely. How much? I'll buy it right now. Well, why don't you just have a copy? Here, take this. And the next thing I knew, I was writing an adventure upstairs in the hotel for a pickup game. And at the end of that adventure, everybody was like, "You've got to do one next year. You've got to run the sequel." And so I ran the sequel, and it was a published module. That sequel ended up becoming En Nomine Septem. Those are the first two modules that Castle Entertainment did, were Kill Marquesa and En Nomine Septem. And I was off and running. The next thing I knew, I'm writing published modules. And Castle Entertainment was kind of born from that experience. And I'm immensely gratified I've never lost that whole kind of reaction that I got that very first day, where I look at people and think to myself, you really want to buy my module? That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life. And I think that the people, it's super gratifying as a creator. I mean, that when people tell you they're interested in what you're doing, especially after they read it. I mean, when people buy something sight unseen, like they buy Horror in the Hools or something like that, and because they've seen it on Twitch or something like that, it's gratifying. But when they come back afterwards and they buy another module, and they say, "I really like what you did here. I'm going to buy a couple more things." Wow, man, it's just like you get so over the moon with it, and it's just incredibly humbling and gratifying as a creator. And these are the kind of things I never want to lose, that feeling of what it's like when people love your stuff. And Ann and I were talking about it pre-show a little bit. It's a double-edged sword to some degree. You kind of feel like you always are have to push yourself. But most of you guys know that I played competitive hockey as a kid, all the way up to my adult years at a pretty high level. I played collegiately. And there's nobody that I know that is more competitive than me. I'm almost pathologically competitive. So I kind of relish that challenge to some degree. I will push myself till I can't push myself anymore, basically.
And
I see my buddy Dead Aussie Gamer over there.
Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy.
And I know the feeling, Carlos. And I'll tell you, for me, when we went back and we kind of brainstormed pre-Gen Con 2019, which the pictures are up now, to let's do a joint adventure at Gen Con, 5 hours each, 10 hours straight with like an hour dinner break between. And that's what the pictures are of there. I don't think he's on yet now, but the bald-headed gentleman on the left, that's Taco Turtle, John Cowart, and the rest of the crew had all signed up for it. And Marco was taking a lot of the pictures. And wow, that was the time. That was really fun. I know. I remember how nervous you were.
I remember. Okay, we're sitting there. I was nervous for a couple reasons. Being that the main reason I was nervous was mostly because your game and my game are so different that you're a tough act to follow. I felt like the dissonance, and they were receiving your game so well. I thought the dissonance here is going to be so stark that I hope I don't start running this and then it's crickets. What I was going to do, because I'm a theater of the mind guy, as many of you
look know. At that. He's got minis and he's got a map up and everything there.
Oh yeah, and I was and look at me there. Yeah, that was about that's old school Carlos hat too, as far as I can see. But
yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it turned out really, really well. I remember thank Istis for Marco being there, because Marco and Amanda were sitting at the back of the room, and they were kind of like my handlers. I was like a lion pacing back and forth in a cage, waiting to go, and they were probably the only ones keeping me sane there before I just ripped out of there and started running an impromptu session at one of those other.
Yeah, I mean but it was such fun, and this came together, and I'm so proud of it and happy and honored that you and Carlos did all the hard work. Let me tell you something, the editing and setting this up, that's the hard work, and also figuring out my Sanskrit writing that I have and converting that into text that you can actually like read, So and putting stuff in a descriptive format. That's not my strong suit. My strong suit is visual play. It's not describing the locations, which is done very very well in here. And hey,
it was an interesting challenge what you gave me because it was I'd seen the game run. I had the feel for it. I had everything that I needed. I just needed to kind of play the role for reporter, so to speak, a little bit. Where I'm kind of describing the elements that you gave me in terms of being, in module speak rather than in just, email back and forth,
right.
casual gamer talk. You have to codify it a little bit. You have to make it a little bit more Gygaxian, I guess, to kind of, to capture the feel of what you're trying to represent there. But the material was all in place. And I think that that's the most important thing is when you have good source material to work from, you can make it, you can do a lot with your product. And, anyone who has the module, and I would imagine out there, I'm looking at some names out there.
A lot.
Looking at the names out there,
Lomas.
It seems like just about everybody that I can see.
Sure.
I've seen, orders from. Amanda would be able to tell me a little bit better about that. But you guys probably have all seen the introduction that I wrote for Horror in the Rules, which is me talking about Jay's game, and it was easy. That part was the easiest thing for me to write in the module because you've got a legendary campaign with years and years and years of source material, and that brings with it a lot of gravity. That's not something that anyone should take lightly. We talk a lot here on this channel and about different, about Jay's game and whatever, but I think sometimes we take for granted a little bit, not Jay or his guys, but some of us that are out in the crowd and maybe some of the other guest stars, we take for granted exactly what dedication to a craft 40 years of a game is. I know for myself playing throughout my lifetime how hard, even as kids, okay, when you can game every day after school and you have no responsibilities, I know how hard it is to get everybody together around the table at the same time to do a game. And consequently, when you step back and you look at the weight of 40 years of gameplay, 40 plus years of gameplay, obviously, it's arresting, quite frankly. The amount of dedication to your craft that you have, the resolve of your players, and quite frankly, to hold their attention that long speaks, what you're doing. I mean, it's an amazing achievement, the likes of which have been seen very few times in the history, I think, of our game.
Carlos, I really appreciate that.
No problem. Like I said, it was very easy for me to write that part, and I think I think that everybody out there in the crowd, it's something we talk about a lot, I guess, but maybe something that we need to visit, and we really need to think about it under a microscope a bit.
Oops.
How impressive that truly is. You just say 40 years of gameplay, yeah, okay, whatever. But thinking about it, really, think about all the details. Think about all the bad weather and people make the game. Think about all the personal life struggles. Think about people moving. Think about people getting married. Think about Jay's seen all this stuff before in his game. His crew has helped on a way to make it work. College.
Tim, all over the world for 23 years.
Or going TDY to different places.
Yeah.
And you think about it, it's crazy when you actually when you actually put forth dedicated thought to it. It's shocking. But again, I just that part was super duper easy to write.
Well, thank you.
The rest, you gave me a lot. I guess my larger point is you gave me a lot of really good source material to work with.
And I hope this turns into something fun that you all can use. So I don't want this to be just an advertisement for this, but know this. So tonight, giveaway wise, I've already set it up. I'm giving out one of those cherished dual signed copies. Carlos and me, Horror in the Hools. I will pick up shipping. Hopefully, it's not to New Zealand, Armin, if you're on or whatever. But wherever, we'll get it to you.
Aussie Gamer, this is your time to shine, bro.
So, dual signed by both of us. That'll make copy number 5 that's out there. That's a dual signed copy, and then Carlos is going to add on a second little for the second winner. We're going to draw a second time and explain what you're going to give to the crowd here for the second gift.
Okay, so check this out. I mentioned this a couple episodes ago. A few years ago, I was asked for GrogCon. I was flown down to GrogCon. I was their guest of honor for their initial convention to do a module for them. And our own Grendelwolf's Lair Gaetano won a contest held by them to name the module. That module ended up becoming Porcelain Sword of Queen Ashala.
Mhm.
Okay. He named Porcelain Sword of Queen Ashala. I sat back. I loved the title. I thought about how I might Greyhawk something up, what kind of images that title evoked in me. And that became the module. Well, the Grogs are holding another contest like that. And you can get a hold of them on their Twitter or on grogcon.com to supply your own ideas to enter that contest and have the naming rights and have your name in the credits. But I want to do something else with that, just for this crew right here, for Jay's crew and for my Greyhawk community. Whoever wins the contest tonight is going to be able to choose a monster that they put in the module. Okay. Now this monster, once whoever wins, you contact me via castlentertainment@gmail.com. Tell me what monster you want. If you want any variants to it, like you don't want an owlbear, you want an Arctic owlbear. Let's say you want, you want a desert brulee, or you want a, you don't want a spirit troll, you want a 2-headed spirit troll. Whatever you want to do, okay? We'll talk about it via castlentertainment.com. Your name will be in the module, and that monster will appear there.
Yep.
I think it's a really cool way to get everybody
Absolutely.
and excited about that particular module. It gives everybody a chance to get published and their name in print and all that happy stuff.
It's exciting. So Troy Cannibal asks, is there a way to get out-of-print modules from your site? You can only get PDFs of those.
Right now, there is nothing that we have that is out of print. I believe the only right now. We have a series that we supported the Avamere game setting for Castle Entertainment. I don't think I'm printing any more of those until I have a chance to remaster them. Frankly, they were very early in my publication career, and I'm not happy with them per se. So we're going to remaster them at some point and publish and print some more of them. But right now there is nothing out of print. So yeah, all the old modules are up there, and go ahead and order them to your heart's content, bro. Yep, cream brulee would work. Last one would work too. And yeah, I'll take plenty of questions.
So one other thing, and that is, if you've watched going back a couple of years, and I know a lot of our viewers are since Scary kind of last year, so about a year ago. Carlos wrote 3 adventures for me, and they're scrolling now. Mushroom Blue, Warts and All, and then the Tenebris Deep, 3 of them, and I ran them all with the Bloody Brethren, who I'm running, just finished up with on Thursday night as well, that group, with Fritz Winchester and Milson Von Kessel, a lot of the characters that appear in Horror in the Holes. And if you want them in PDF, and please don't bombard me, but just get it over to me, I will give you all of those courtesy that Carlos wrote for me for you to utilize with them how you want. No, just flat out free in PDF. So if you want Warts and All, if you want Mushroom Blue, and you want Tenebris Deep, just let me know. Just whisper me, and I'll send them to you. They're very good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, they're all very good. The levels is in that 4/5 range. More than happy to get them out to you so that you can utilize them in your campaign. They all take place in the Principality Ulic area, but you can place them wherever. But they're all made for the Order of Ulic and campaign, but you could always edit them, and they're good. And there's a picture of the map for Tenebris Deep.
I was about ready to mention Tim over there. He's talking over there.
Yeah, he's like,
when I wrote those modules, I thought to myself, okay, Jay's got a group of 40+ year gamers. Okay, I'm gonna make these things tough enough to challenge a group that experienced. So when you see those levels on those, take them with a grain of salt because your players may or may not be quite ready for those levels. You could actually probably kick them up 2 levels and still feel like they'll give a lot of players a challenge. But these were expert level players that have been playing the game for a million years. So I was like, you know what? Let's give these guys a run for their money.
And the funniest one was the first adventure, and he had the water wheel weird. And I think it was Tim's character had the potion of sweet water, and he just went up and poured, poured it in, and the well had killed it outright.
Nobody ever. How do you expect that? I mean,
Oh, that was so funny. But but that's they're good and they're challenging. They're not easy adventures, which is great. And so I just wanted to give that out to everyone watching. I'll tell everyone a little bit later as we get. I guarantee you, we're missing some people like who with daylight savings time and all, and there'll be more and more coming on. All right, so Anna, this early discussion with Carlos about how he got into it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's amazing, and I also show that we kind of get in this a little bit on a banana peel. I think that there are probably some creators that sit at home and say, okay, I'm going to have a career in this and I'm going to sit and work and then I'm going to earn money on it and so on, because this is not a formal career. I don't think I've encountered anyone that is meaning there's no formally degree in this. Now there actually are game design degrees and stuff like that, but for the RPG industry, most of us, we have a passion for this, and then you keep doing it one way or the other, and then all of a sudden you start earning money from it. And I think that comes with a lot of us. I did it as a hobby for like 20 some years back in Sweden, and when I moved to California, I had nothing to do, so I just sat down and did it every day for 8 hours a day, just finished what I did, and all of a sudden I started earning money on it. And that was not really, I wanted to, but there was no dedicated plan, and I didn't like start my own publishing company or whatever. I just sat down and did it, and people liked it, and it kind of took off from there.
It was similar for me in that I kind of thought to myself, I never set out to be TSR. I never set out to be heck, I never even set out to be a smaller company. All I wanted to do was to write some modules for people. And as I got going forward with it, I realized that if I wanted to kind of put forth the production values that I wanted in these modules, because I self-finance everything through my day job, I needed to make some money with them a little bit. I couldn't just they couldn't just be expenditures without any kind of balance to them. So that's what I've done. I created a Patreon for that so that I could I could generate enough income to make these modules the way I wanted to, and fortunately I've been able to so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then and often the first kind of tentative steps take a long time, but they are, in some ways, they just happen. You don't really know when they're going to happen. They just happen. But for me, then it comes the second stage. Now it becomes such an operation that I basically rely on it now. I have to pay my own health insurance and I have to do all this stuff. So I need to up my game. And then all of a sudden comes these kind of professional pressures, meaning I need to produce often and do stuff for commission and stuff. So now it means that I need to get better computers and stuff. But on the other hand, now I'm also able to start thinking in bigger terms. And that's something that I'm going to talk about on my seminar a bit in depth, so to speak, meaning to up my game a bit. I need better hardware, better software, partners that I can work with on different things to bring in other parts. I can outsource things to others to do and stuff like you do, so to speak. So and that's something I've been my own little thing, done everything myself, and that I need to diversify that way. If someone else can do that 10 times more effective than me, it's probably better for me to pay that person a little bit of money to have that done for me.
I've been in that kind of situation myself lately. I've been in that where I previously I did my own cartography, and I let the world know how much I suck at it. And, now
don't.
I'm actually, it seems like the last 3 modules, I think I've outsourced cartography for, because I
You
don't
can
feel
always
like I will
outsource
see that.
cartography to me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the problem is you're too busy.
Well,
Frankly,
that's some of the
I feel a
that's some
little
of the problem.
self-conscious
Yeah.
of reaching out to you about some of the cartography. To
Yep.
be 100% frank, is
Yeah.
I know how busy you are, and you are going to get more lucrative offers from people like Cobalt Press and people like that.
Well,
That
it's also what I want to
can't
do. If you work on a Greyhawk module, that has an appeal in itself. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
in that case, then maybe I will speak going
Yeah.
forward, because I do really want to use you. I just think to myself, I can't afford her.
It's and it can be flexible. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah,
know,
oh yeah. I
Anna's
mean,
always very
I
flexible.
need to be open, because there's very few people that a lot of people wondered how much is it cost, and how does this work, and I don't really know, because I've just set my own standard, and basically, and people might be very surprised by this, but it's sometimes there are several. One is, of course, how much time and work it takes, but it also part of the thing that if you're a huge publisher, that it depends on what you're doing it for. But if someone gives me, meaning I don't advertise and I don't pay to advertise, so I can also see that it's actually, if someone is going to print this and publish it and plaster my name everywhere, then that has an appeal in itself, so to speak. If I'm just doing something that for a few hours for someone to use in their basement, meaning then that doesn't give me any follow-up kind of publicity or anything like that, and so but it also part of how much they can pay, and then frankly it's up to how much I like to do it. Meaning,
Yeah.
if I get a chance to sit and work a week or 3 weeks on some awesome pet Greyhawk project, that is a hobby for me, so to speak. But if you have someone who comes and says that, okay, we need this, and it needs to be these criteria, it needs to be exactly that way,
Right.
and I get hardly no input, then I'm going to ramp up to say, okay, if you call all the shots, then you pay all the money. So
And they're going to change it on you last second anyway.
exactly. then you do stuff like that, and then and the problem is that you don't you get paid not by how much you work, you get paid by how much you can demand for it. Meaning,
And I had to do that to poor Glenn the other day, where I'm like, oh, by the way, here's an additional 6 locations on this map. Sorry.
Oh yeah, you do, and that's the thing, you need to think. And so in the beginning, meaning I did my first kind of commissions for like $1,000. Now I can do commissions for $2, $3, $4, $5,000 for like about $1,000 a month, working on something, and that's kind of part-time. So often the commission, now I'm into that if I always say that it will cost $1,000 to almost everyone, because if it's less than $1,000, then I don't want to have 10 hours of discussion and leading to nothing if they're not even willing to pay that much. And that's one of the benefits of being in my position. I can kind of demand that kind of money before I even talk to someone about it. So I simply say $1,000 and upwards. Yeah.
I feel very similar to what you just said,
Yeah.
Anna. In my particular case, as some of you guys know out there, I have a gig there where I get paid as a DM from people.
Yeah.
Some people are hiring me out for it, and I tell them all the time. A lot of people come up to me and they're like, "I don't think I can afford a session," and I always tell them, "Well, it depends on what you want." I mean, if you're allowing me to say, if you say, "Hey, Carlos, I'm going to let you put this on Twitch so you can advertise what you do. I'm going to let you call all the shots. You're going to make, just entertain me."
Yeah.
It's not as expensive as you might possibly expect it to be. However, if you're like, "Hey, by the way, I want this to be an all paladin crew that is running through the theocracy of the pale, and you're going to fight these monsters, and I want this kind of background, and I want this, and this," all of a sudden you're, the less creative control I get, I still might have a lot of fun creating it.
Yeah.
But it constrains you enough as a creator that you're thinking to yourself, I need a little bit more for this.
Yeah. And also I think we need to, anyone who watched this, I think we need to discourage them and to go into this business, meaning I would earn more money working in McDonald's than I do. I earn not minimum wage. I don't earn $7 an hour doing this.
I just heard, by the way,
yeah.
you can hear, I don't know if you heard it over my microphone, but Amanda just cackled out in the living room hearing that.
Yeah, meaning so don't go in to be a creator in the RPG industry thinking that you can earn a lot of money. Don't do
I
that.
was lucky that I had
you work, you
before
work.
I got into this, so I was ready for that.
Yeah, meaning you do this for fun, and then you get money, so you live, so you can actually keep doing it. That's what you do. It meaning I earn 20,000 a year roughly, and that's working well. I can be open with it, and
I know it's not your only family gig and all like that.
No,
but,
no,
you know,
yeah. So it's kind of, I
yeah.
need to, and that's simply because I have it well off enough anyway that I can, and I don't have kids to support through college or any of that stuff. But meaning, if you work hard, you can earn money on this, but don't expect to get rich on it, and it should not be. It's not a wise career move. That's what I'm saying. But it's a hell of a lot of fun to work in it, and it opens doors. But you have to work really hard to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of ancillary stuff too that you may not expect when it comes to this thing. You would be surprised how much time I actually spend writing and how much time I spend corresponding and and getting people on the same page and herding cats and and building widgets and things like that.
Yeah, and you spend answering emails on Discord. So I'm saying I'm truly sorry to everybody who keeps contacting me and I don't get a chance to reply. So
yeah, I'll give you an example. For example, I might make a module, right? And it looks great and everything, but then I have to I have to get art for it, right? But these artists, they're not creating, they're not telepathic. Okay.
No, and we are like herding cats, like herding artists and cartographers and whatnot.
But I have to write down every single thing that I want in an image. I have to like write out the description of every image, which is almost, that could be 5 or 7 pages of direction.
And we would read that like the devil reads the Bible, so to speak. We would read that to interpret it our way, and then when it comes back and you realize that no, that's not what I asked about, then so it's kind of tricky. So
it is tricky. And sometimes you end up doing one of these deals like, okay, I paid $400 for interior art right over here. How am I going to rewrite this particular encounter so that art works with it? Because that's not what I wanted at all.
Yep.
You end up in that situation.
And that. Oh, sorry.
No, it's a lot of getting in the weeds, and and just note that it's not for.
And to explain to others how your work process works, so they know what to expect from you, when they can tell you what and when things need to be nailed down, etc. So, but it is a lot of fun to work in this field, and a lot of work. So
Thank you for that compliment there, Mike. That was really nice of you. Well, I always try and help everyone. I really do. I know Carlos does. I know Anna does, and that's part of the community, and that's why the community's been so popular and growing so well over the last year. Excuse me. This time last year was GaryCon. GaryCon was that opportunity because we were all going to go, and then all of a sudden it got canceled. We had 2 weeks, and let's do this virtually. And well, let me tell you something. I may look like John Coward soon with the ringers they're putting me through. So and we all behind the scenes, that's my struggle right now. And we all know, Wiley, you understand what I'm talking about. We think your situation's fixed now too, just to let you know. But I really wanna get into the deepness of this and ask Carlos a couple questions on.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Where,
I'm here for.
Let's pick. Let's start at the beginning. I'm talking about as far as levels go. I know you have a brand new module out, and that's for entry level.
Yep.
So why don't we start with? Is that the only one that you have that's a true entry right now?
It is the only one I have as a true entry right now. I am working on one as we speak. That is also an entry. The one you're referring to is Well, on the road to Caverns Cove, right over here. And I
Yep.
don't know why it's picking up at, oh, because it's green screen. Oh, I get it now. Yeah, this is actually Caverns Cove that you're looking at over here.
Well,
It's,
it's green. It's green
camera-
on the CSL Entertainment page.
Yeah, my camera is picking it up as black. That's
Oh wow, that's interesting. Wow.
yeah, kind of neat. But anyway, yeah, that one is. You'll notice the color of the module. It's on Jay's screen right over there. The reason why it was picked for that color is because this is my ode to Village of Hamlet. Okay, I have never been a huge, in all, to be totally transparent, I have never been a huge fan of Village of Hamlet. When I got it when I was like 10 years old or so, I read it, and it wasn't what I wanted out of a module at that point in time. You know, I wanted something like White Plume Mountain or something a little bit more kinetic than that. And I remember reading it. I was like, yeah, this isn't really my thing. And I think it always had kind of a bad taste in my mouth. I've learned to appreciate it more since then. But I know how much the community loves Hamlet. They love that module.
yeah.
They love it as a starting point. And I recognize its use, its utility as something like that. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to offer my kind of version of Village of Hamlet, where it's a starting point for adventure. It's got a lot of intrigue, a lot of interesting NPCs, a lot of things going on with it. I wanted to have a little bit more of a coherent storyline in some places than Village of Hamlet does. So that's what Caverns Cove was. It's introductory to novice level, where you just you integrate yourself into the village and into the culture of coastal Raddick.
So it's a sandbox.
Yeah, it is. It is very much a sandbox.
Okay.
And it is it's basically what it is it gives you a lot of options. It gives you a lot of NPCs. It gives you a lot of intrigue with the way people tend to interact with one another. There's kind of a brewing meta plot underneath it that you guys can get involved in as players and DMs. Basically what it is I want it to be fertile ground for adventure. I wanted you to be able to take it in a million different ways, some of which are just implied. Maybe they're not even explicit in there. For example, there's a in the background, in the back of the module, there's a section of it called Adventures in Caverns Cove. And there is actually 7 or 8 different hooks in there with corresponding areas. It tells you where, all the areas that might be involved in it. Like, for example, there's one of them called To Deliver a Child. It takes place in areas 12, 20, and 24 in there that you can, those are all places where you might be able to get into that kind of quest plot line, or not, For the Glory of Ilonian, which is 20, 36, 40, 49, and 50. There's so many different hooks in there that I wanted to offer players and DMs that they all have their different feel to them. They all have a different kind of, things that apply to certain DMs where they're more role play heavy or more combat heavy, where they're interested in the gods or they're interested more in exploration. There's something for everybody there. So I was really happy with how Caverns Cove turned out.
Why Raddick?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, Raddick is
He's laughing.
no, it's funny because it all starts with Gary Holian, actually.
Oh.
Gary and I were talking one night on late night on Grey Chat back in the day when it existed, and Greyhawk. We were chatting, and I was talking about a module or an adventure I was thinking about writing, and he was talking to me. And again, Gary is one of those people in the community I have a huge amount of esteem for, and he was talking about a character that he would play if he were in such a scenario. And he mentioned, I would play a Ratickian Ranger Mountaineer. And I thought about that. I was like, that is the coolest concept ever. I've never really thought about Raddick that heavily. I've never really thought about, a Mountaineer Ranger. It was something really unique and really flavorful for me. And for some reason, those 3 words, Ratickian Ranger Mountaineer, stuck in my head for years, literally, until I wrote this. And so I was deciding where I wanted to put my adventure. and I knew that nobody who really published had done. Gary did a lot with it in the Gore the Rogue novels with Evely and things like that, but there's really no published modules in Radix. So I thought,
No, that was Bone March and stuff south of it.
Yeah. That region, I guess, is what I'm saying. But there's no real public module there. So I thought, okay, let's do it in Radix. And
all right, so
Ranger Mountaineer it is.
Yeah.
There's
something with Radix, because I've had several of my patrons, and I one of my patron, he became my patron so I could map Radix, and he reminds me of that constantly. And I have like a whole Radix fan section that just Radix. So there must be something very special with that region.
I have learned a lot of people love Radix. Yeah. I didn't know that. I did not know that David Leonard was such a huge Radix aficionado.
So Asher asked where in Radix?
It is on the coast of Radix, about maybe about 100 miles south of Marner, the city of Marner, which is the capital city, which is to the north of Marner. There's a forest up there called the Timberway in the north of Radix. That's where Marner is. And if you go way to the south of that, that is where you go.
That's awesome.
For Kevrick's Cove. I dispensed one of the problems I have with. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, but you'll have to hear me out when I say this. Listen to listen all the way to the completion of the sentence. I have a big problem with Living Greyhawk because it made the map very dense as far as locations go, and I don't like the density of it. There's too many locations. There's too much compressed into areas where it should be. There's a comment in the chat right now that's exactly right, where it says it's like the frontier. Radix should be a little bit more frontiery. It should be a little bit more open. It shouldn't be so. In this, by the way, this is all just my opinion. It should be a lot more wide open. Not nearly as civilized and built up. It should be a little bit more Wild West to me. And Living Greyhawk, because that was everybody's continuum, where you were in the world.
No.
If you were in Australia or whatever, that was it. Paranland was your world. So it stands to reason, you're going to write a full source book about it. You're going to write all these locations in it. But the unintended consequence of that is it made things really, really dense.
Dense and disjointed.
There was no way to put a new location in Radix. There was no place that made sense. So I had to dispense with a lot of it. Yeah. And I made the executive decision to dispense all of it in order to put a location where I needed it there. And by the way, that's not the same thing for all of the Living Greyhawk stuff. And certainly, by the way, I'm not
bashing it.
Bashing Living Greyhawk. I'm just saying that it's one unintended consequence of the Living Greyhawk experiment is that it made the map so dense it's very hard sometimes to do things that you need to do in places.
That's understandable. And note that I am Living Greyhawk for me is that pariah. That I like 10% of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I agree to some degree with you, Carlos. But the interesting thing is they only put stuff in the southern half of it. The northern half of Timberway and up there is completely empty.
Which is a little weird.
The frontier is there. That just moved it 100 miles north. So the
Which
frontier
is
is like
considering the capital is up north. You would think that would be the place that would be established.
No, but that's what I said. The capital is the northern end, or there's like another 10, 20 miles of 30 miles maybe of there are a few settlements, and then you have the whole coast up there is like. There's unexplored, so the frontier is there. Just that the Living Greyhawk moved it from south of Marner somewhere to like Marner was this little outpost out in the wild to becoming the northern edge.
Sure.
So to the
and when you consider the way that Radix was actually established as a Palatine march of the Great Kingdom, it makes sense that it was. That the frontier would be towards the north of it. But like I said, to me, I feel like it should be a little bit more less dense.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I agree 100%. And when all right, this is not soapbox night. When I saw what the Living Greyhawk Principality Yola people did to that with that, I was like, what the hell is this? That row of I was like, oh my God, it's like, Anna, get rid of all of it.
Yeah.
I was like, rip the thing
But
apart.
that is, yeah, that's the interesting thing is, for me, I'm the kind of weirdo. I like a lot of the what the places and stuff they put there, but I don't like a lot of the stories, so I skip them and put the settlements and stuff and use them in my campaign. But I haven't campaigned up in Ratic yet, so I have no idea what I will actually do with it. But if I move there, but the northern frontier, like north of Marner, where you really have the wilderness up there, that's something that will be kind of cool to have a campaign where you actually go out there and establish the next foothold, so to speak. That's a very interesting. You're talking about new campaigns. That would be kind of cool to fight the monsters and whoever lives beyond civilization. So
David Leonard's bringing up over there that the capital was the defense against the Firsti, but they didn't consider that the southern Firsti became the lords of the northern Rat, in his opinion. And I think that's a pretty astute way of putting it. I think that makes a lot of sense. I also don't think that either the Great Kingdom or Radek really ever considered the fact what would happen eventually in the Bone March, kind of cutting off effectively Radek from the Great Kingdom in the way they did, and representing such a threat just beyond the mountains. That's my opinion too, though. So.
I know we're going to get into the depth of a lot of the reasoning behind what Carlos is doing, so please bear with us. We run a little late tonight. It's because we're really going to dig in, and I think I want everyone to get a feel for how you go about what goes into placing something. And Carlos just gave you a huge amount of information he took into consideration when he placed this adventure, and that's a big thing. And don't think that you have to work if you're in your own campaigns and stuff. Hey, come on, just have fun with it. But if you're thinking about doing a publication or something, you got to think about this stuff. So and that's
when it comes to placement. The very first thing that I do, as far as when I'm placing a module, the first thing I do is I'm soliciting the opinions of the community. I'm listening to the voice of the community because I want to hear and make these modules not for myself. I make these modules for other people. So I want to know where people want things.
Yep.
I want to know where people think places are underrepresented or they feel like this needs more. We need to expound on this, right? But that being said, when I was a hockey player, one of the things I used to do when I would skate, and I don't look at people. I don't look at what's around me. I see space. I see empty space. I guess it's like an artist looking at negative space and using it. So when I'm looking at the map, I'm not really looking at what I see there as far as what features are there. I look for places where there isn't anything there. Mm-hmm. I want to see the places that this is really remote and I want something there. This is how I ended up creating the Sanguine Labyrinth in the Rovers of the Barrens, because there is absolutely nothing there, which is right over here. It's the Dungeon of Bleeding Walls.
Let's talk about that one next. How's that sound? Okay. Did you brought that up?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, C14.
C14 is the Dungeon of Bleeding Walls, okay, or the Sanguine Labyrinth, and it stems from I wanted to do something very, very Greyhawky. I knew it was going to be a tournament module, and I knew that I had never done a mega dungeon in Castle Entertainment. So I thought about mega dungeons, and I remembered a throwaway line from I Use the Evil, in which they mentioned the Dungeon of Bleeding Walls, and I thought to myself, what an absolutely horrible, inhospitable place. This place sounds like it is the worst place to adventure possibly in the Florence. It's perfect. So I decided I would take it and make it a little bit my own. Nobody really did anything with it. That, to the best of my knowledge, I wanted to make it my own. I wanted to see how players would deal with some of the specific challenges in there. The biggest challenge in there is attrition. You go into the Dungeon of Bleeding Walls, and it is a toxic environment. There is toxic gas everywhere in there. The walls are bleeding acid. You're taking constant damage in there. It's brutal. It's a brutal set of environment, and it forces players to do a lot of problem solving on how you deal with, you know, uh, inhospitable environments that you're probably not prepared for at all. The Rovers of the Barrens are people that are used to frigid climbs, brutal environments themselves, and that is the player characters in the Sanguine Labyrinth. But by the same token, they're not ready for that. I mean, they're not ready for the kind of things that they're going to see in there. And also, one of the things about the Sanguine Labyrinth that I really, really love about the design of the Dungeon of Bleeding Walls is that there's a hook in there that they really don't explain. They said that there's 3 drow vampires, ancient drow vampires that are at the bottom of it that are imprisoned in there, and that's the whole reason for the module. So I had to create why they're imprisoned there, what their story was and everything. And as a creator, as a chance to, create your own canon, so to speak, in there, man, you can't think of something more fertile than that. They just throw you these little tidbits of, and this were the things that Gary and some of the subsequent creators were good for in Greyhawk. They would just give you these
Oh
3 or
yeah,
4 word
tidbits.
cues. You could take them and run with them.
They were great at like Easter eggs.
Yeah, like for example, the Mist Golem in Merc, for example, from the Gold Box. That is just something that is absolutely fertile ground for imagination and for a module to write. In fact, I thought about writing a module based on that, but I've seen a couple people already kind of take that and run with it. So I want to do something a little bit less on the beat, a little more off the beaten path. But Sanguine Labyrinth gave me a chance to delve into ancient elven history based on the thing with the drow and why it might be in there. Some of the things that might, the way that the interplay of the ancient elves went with their gods and with the tribes of the Sildarin, and I thought it was a cool chance to do something with that.
So it's level 7 to 11. It's in the Rovers of the Barrens, which there's nothing else there that I know of. Again, right?
Mhm.
So, that which is awesome. And note that we will have someone else popping on a little bit to talk more Rovers of the Barrens because that's where you're playing.
I'm really excited. and by the way, I just saw DM22-1532 mention when you and Gretzky talking about seeing negative. I am like the biggest Wayne Gretzky fan I've ever. I know. I've never heard him say that, so that's cool to hear.
Yeah, he always said skating to the puck. That was his big thing.
Yeah, exactly. Go to where it's going to be, not where it was.
Yep. So, what is your highest level published adventure for Greyhawk you have for player characters? We'll go from lowest.
Probably When Comes the Witching Hour, which is 9 to 12.
And which letters?
Justinius is here, and Justinius actually played in that module.
Oh, and Justinius, thank you for signing up, and maybe you win that horn horse.
That's my good friend Gregory.
Oh, great, cool.
That module is absolutely lethal.
And what letter number it is, so I can just pop it right up.
C11.
C11. Okay, there you go. Yep, Frank. Boom.
Okay, so When Comes the Witching Hour. If you look at the character that is at the cauldron, and When Comes the Witching Hour is obviously Igoliv. It is technically the Witch Queen, the Queen of Witches, excuse me. But it's obviously Igoliv. I got a chance to put my favorite Easter egg of all time in that module, but it's full of demons and devils. Anna, this is right up your alley because there's named demons and devils. There's even a couple of them that are very similar to some of them that you know and love from Board the Rogue that will remain unnamed here because I don't want to accidentally summon them with their true name. It's in my
smart.
Here. But they, I have a couple. I remember there was a module. There's an encounter in there at the very beginning of it with a demon named Stargazer. Stargazer is a Marilith, okay, and she has. Some of you may remember the words of creation idea, the concept that was out there in Planescape, that Orcus had learned one of the words of creation and death. Well, this character, the Stargazer, has learned that there is a pattern in the constellations of the cosmos that deals with the underpinnings of creation. And by discerning these patterns and this arcane language that is written in the stars, you can actually control some of the universe. Well, these secrets were never meant to be known by mortals, even or even by demons and devils. So it drove her insane. She is now needs absolute silence and darkness, or else she just loses her marbles completely. The player characters went in there, and of course they need light to see. They make a lot of noise. They walked into her area, and she threw up blade barrier right away, and all of their retainers were macked, like in the first round of combat. It was just a bloodbath in that corridor with the Stargazer. I remember she was just brutal, and she was one of the first named demons they found in there too. So.
Specific locations for this would be?
That is in Perrinland, in particular. That is in northern Perrinland, up in the hills. Again, this is an area where not a lot of people have done stuff. But the stuff has been done with Exag and things like that. I realize that, but this in particular, you're talking about a really forlorn landscape in which it's very forbidding. And as a player myself back in the day, when I was learning to fall in love with the Greyhawk setting, I ventured. My stomping grounds is Perrinland. If I know any one nation in Greyhawk very well, it's Perrinland. So I really wanted to do something there. I wanted to do a lot with Pyrenees culture and a lot of little. As an aside, I should probably mention this right now. Amanda always is telling me to remind people of this, so this is a good time to do it. When you're buying a Castle Entertainment module, you're getting an adventure, sure, but that's really not the whole main thrust of what I'm trying to get at. Many of you guys will notice that my modules are just about 100 pages all the way through. Well, there's a reason why they're about 100 pages all the way through. That's because I'm writing a source book of the area as I'm writing these. There are places in the Flanass that we never got things like the Marklands for. We didn't get I Use the Evil. We didn't get even the Undying for Perrinland. So I want people to have a little bit of a mini source book on Perrinland as well. So I can, give people a canon idea of what, or at least a Carlos canon idea of what these places are like. And so I got a chance to characterize Perrinland a lot. That module is one of my favorites because it allowed me to do, like I said, my favorite Easter egg in When Comes the Witching Hour. It also gave me a chance to do one of my favorite all-time hooks of this free city of Greyhawk, which is done in, I believe it is the Greyhawk, The Adventure Begins. They mentioned a missing heiress that was lost in Castle Greyhawk. Now, this harkens back to actually City of Greyhawk box set, which I know Jay loves, where they mentioned the Silver Fox family who raised Silverhounds, the particular breed of dog, a powerful war dog in Greyhawk, which I absolutely love. In fact, I wrote an entire article that I haven't released yet about dog breeds in Greyhawk.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I want to see that one.
Yes. I would love that one.
Yeah. That is
thanks so much, Wiley. We love you, brother. But yeah, I wrote this whole thing about dog breeds. I'm waiting to release it because I'm going to do one about cat breeds as well. And I'm thinking about doing.
Can you put in the div cat then?
That's
what div cat.
Oh.
I actually took, I looked at, I needed some cool little stuff for my campaign. So I realized in Turkey, there is one called the van cat that likes to swim and stuff. Okay. So I was like, we need to have a div cat. So I call it, and I looked at, there is an otter cat like that, there's short little ears and stuff like that. So I invented the div cat as a species that lives along the near div and it's surrounding rivers and stuff like that. And a cat that likes to fish and stuff like that. There are several species.
Oh wow, that's awesome! We need to talk about this. You need to send me
I have a whole bunch of
write up on email. I'd be happy.
Yeah, because I have a whole bunch of animals I'm going to introduce in the campaign. So we should coordinate because we have. You have.
Yeah, and everybody out there watching right now, don't be
Yeah.
shy about sending me emails about stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you're interested in seeing something like that reflected
Yeah,
in
I
my
have a whole
modules
bunch
or anything,
I was
yeah.
thinking what cat species, what kind of bear species and
Mhm.
wolf canine species and stuff does it live around
There's a
the
lot of
Flannies and
development
stuff.
on the real life domestic animals
Yep.
and even naturally
Yeah.
occurring animals that haven't been developed.
But this is
Exactly.
the
I
kind
wanted
of thing
to
that I really wanted to do for Greyhawk.
Yeah.
People talk, we think about things like, I noticed that there was an article, I think that David Leonard posted this on his amazing book group, Greyhawk Musings, which if you're not a member of it, or if you're not a Facebook member, you should join it just for Greyhawk Musings. He's that good.
Oh
But
yeah.
there was something about, I think there was something about drinks in Greyhawk, different or kind of, alcohols or liquors that people drink or
Mhm.
whatever. And
Yep.
I think that that's the kind of thing we need more of. We need things
Yep.
like foods. What kind of music do people listen to?
Mhm.
What kind of what's the
Yep.
fashion
Or
in
Yep.
rural
Mhm.
Astroland?
or where the kumquat trees are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but
No, but yeah, but and I'm going to make
outside
one
outcome.
kind of fundamental contribution to this, trying to make a detailed climate map of the Flannies, so you can use that as a guideline, so to speak. So I'm trying to read in as much as possible on the source material, then think about the geography and so on, and then build a climate map so we can kind of use that as a guideline to what animals, what plants and stuff would grow there, and then add in the fantasy versions of them as well. So
These are the kind of things I really want to do. But
yeah.
so that's why I love the whole Silverhound thing. I was able to, going back to the module, I was able to kind of use the whole Ariana Silver Fox. They never even said what her name was, the missing heiress, but her name's Ariana in my thing. But I was able to use that piece of history as the starting point. Her mother is basically the one who sends the PCs to go find her missing daughter. And she's shocked when she finds out that she is supposedly divination has revealed that she's in Pearland. And she has absolutely no idea how that happened because she disappeared in Castle Greyhawk. So there's a Castle Greyhawk tie to this. There is a Return to Castle Greyhawk tie in this. There is there's the City of Greyhawk tie in it. There's the Igloliv tie in it. And I mentioned the Easter egg a couple times. If you go to Igloliv's bedroom, if you happen to find it in here, you will find on her nightstand a miniature mortar and pestle. I wonder what those could be.
Gotta love it.
Ooh.
Gotta
Yeah.
love it.
Artifacts, my friend.
Yep.
Artifacts. New artifacts. I like to do stuff like that. So people have done the dancing hut ad nauseum. Let's do the rest of her mythos.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I really loved C11. It was very well received at GaryCon when I ran it. Justinius was in it, as I mentioned. I can't see one of the other players that's going to be in Tim's game. Steve Fridsma, he was in that one. I was fortunate to have a lot of people in the community play test that. It was really cool.
There's a couple of observations here before I ask a question.
Cool.
Great minds think alike, Carlos, because last night I had a granddaughter of the Wainwright estate right outside the walls of Greyhawk get kidnapped and taken into the Mist Marsh, and they had to recover her from a fox woman. So there you go. So for the G-Off group for the Barra Geek. So that's pretty funny. Here's my question. Does this adventure tie in at all, or even remotely, to Shokanth and Thariston?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So you could run it after Shokanth.
Come on, Jay. You know me. You know how much those are my two favorite.
That's why I'm asking, because some people may want to do a trilogy.
The idea is this, okay? Igloliv, when she was the Witch Queen of Pearland and had subjugated the whole area, she ruled the whole area with an iron fist, okay? But there are very few places, especially when you're a magic user of as high level as old Wilva is. Yes, we're familiar enough with each other that I can call her that. But Wilva has she's not going to have just one area that she calls her home. She's going to have bolt holes everywhere. She's going to have hidden lairs that she can teleport to, where nobody knows what she's working on, or where she can escape to, or where she has clones ready. She's going to have all kinds of places like that. 90% of them you've not found yet.
Right.
So be ready for that. And yes, the Thorisden tie-in is definitely in there.
Good.
One of my, there's that particular module is near and dear to my heart. It's a very early Castle Entertainment module. But it's 102 pages, I believe, and it's all in 8-point font. So you're going to get your money's worth out of that.
And note this too. We've talked about this in previous, I think, on Wall of Fame's discussions. Carlos recommends Thorisden before Shokanth, not Shokanth first. And I kind of, the more I think about it, it makes sense. So run Thorisden first, then Shokanth, then C11.
Oh, thank you very much, Scala. We really appreciate it. And I love that handle too. That's an awesome.
Oh, thanks. Name. Thanks, Scala. That's awesome.
I should say about Witching Hour. One other thing I really enjoy about that whole thing is when you're doing high level play. For me, okay, this is just for me. I know a lot of DMs don't like this because it's a lot of bookkeeping and a lot of extra stuff, whatever. But I love henchmen and hirelings. I think that if you ever really delve into the history of the game, the Gygaxian way of play, you'll realize that it was not uncommon for parties to go 20 deep into a module when it came to torch holders and link boys and things like that. Because you needed to have a massive crew over there as a support staff that when you fell back or when you're, when you manage to beat a room, you don't want to walk out of it and then the next day when you fall back there because you need to rest and heal, find out, hey, by the way, now there's 10 ogres in there that have moved in.
Yeah.
So you leave things there to kind of secure these areas.
Yep.
When just iron spikes aren't going to cut it.
Yeah.
I never see that reflected in modules. So what I wanted to do is, because I was running such high level play, C11, every character that was in it, all the pre-gen characters, they have retainers.
Yeah.
They all have, they have named and statistic out who their number one henchman is.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a million other ones, go ahead. But
yeah. And that's how I've run several of my campaigns, and I plan to run this too. That initially the characters are the henchmen. They are the auxiliary group that get part missions, so to speak, to guard the rear or do side little things and quests and stuff. And then as they move up the ladder, they will get henchmen that can move around and give orders and stuff too, so to speak.
Some of the things that you can do with that as well is you can create such dramatic tension. Now, Justinius over there was mentioning that was his favorite part of the module. Well, in his particular case, his henchman was actually his little sister. It was his younger sister, right? So when they found that Merilith and she opened up Blade Barrier and she's 5th level and she gets basically mercilessly slaughtered within about the first hour of the game, that creates a lot of tension for people that know how to appropriately role play their characters. And I remember that was the moment that I realized I wanted him to be involved in all of my playtesting things from then on, because his role play of that moment when his sister died was so good. I was like, yeah, that's exactly the response I wanted.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's that C11 is near and dear to my heart for that. These are all like your kids in a sense. There's something you love about all of them. There's some certain modules that I feel like if I were to approach them again, I could do something better. There's things that I would improve. But
do you want to talk about one of those?
Yeah, sure. If I had to do it all over again, C10 would probably be the one that I would
the sequel. Right.
Revise over. C10 is called Who Sits Upon the Oaken Throne.
It is.
Now, the reason that first, let's talk a little bit about it. All right, it is the sequel to C7 in Nomine Septa. Okay,
the old cover
at the
still.
end of C7, the people who played that in that module, and JC Luxton goes, next year we need to run a sequel to it, maybe something about court intrigue. I thought to myself, okay, well, let's do court intrigue. I didn't tell them there sitting there that I was going to. That's exactly what I will do next. But so I wanted to do the city of Jeonri, which is the capital of the county of Yula.
Oh, county, yeah, county. Jesus,
county of
I mean.
Yula. And I wanted. Nobody had ever done anything with the city before, so let's do a whole city-based thing, and let's do it kind of like as an intrigue thing, a mystery kind of idea. So the template I used for it was I studied Lemon Kafka, Rest of Soul. I studied his Assassin's Knot, which I feel is the best murder mystery module ever written. I feel like I did a good job of it, but if I were to do it all over again, I don't think that I should have been more ambitious. I should have done a lot more with the city. I should have detailed it. I had an opportunity there to really put my fingerprint on Jeonri, and I kind of missed it, I feel like. Because what I did was I did it all in one district of Jeonri. I decided there was a place called the Eagle's Eyrie in Jeonri, which is it's a very large central area that's built there. I decided that Count Llewellyn, who we know nothing about, who is the leader of the county of Ulick, we know him to be a druid. Well, I decided that his
it's bizarre
animal companion is an eagle, and so he does everything kind of based around eagles. So he has this area in the middle of Jeonri called the Eagle's Area, in which his manor is built on top. And I did everything based on this little community that is the Eagle's Area. But if I really was going to, everybody said, Carlos, go ahead and redo your module, I would do the entirety of Jeonri.
Okay. It's good to know. I mean, and this is the thing. None of us are perfect, right? And so that's not the way life works. And
that's why you do things over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I learned something from that. And that the thing I learned from that, to my great detriment, honestly, is don't short the scenario. Don't if you feel like it needs something, take the time to do it. Don't shortchange it because you'll regret it later because you really only get one kick at that can. For example, I'm doing right now, my newest module. I am going way, way, way too in depth with it, and I know it. But I also know that if I don't, I'm going to regret it later.
I'm sorry. DM just put I was informed Anna is perfect.
No. You see, I've added a new addition to the damn map for 10 years because it is not perfect. It's anywhere near perfect. It's just slightly better every year, so to speak.
You can't really. You're comparing apples to oranges when you're comparing mere mortals to Anna. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I have it too good. Let's be honest. I do. So with Anna. So I forgot to mention something. I'm going to link this. I tried to put it. I didn't want to crash the stream. So this is in addition to the Cannon Fire Discord. This link will take you right to. Come on, pop up. That will take. We have a very special guest coming on who wants to say hi to Carlos and thank you. Did that link go up? That link will go to the Adventure Finder, which is going to have all of Carlos's adventures, including Horror in the Holes, up there. And soon, when I mean soon, I mean by the end of 2021, all of my placed Troller Games modules in there too. In the area too. So we're going to get some good stuff into there so you guys can have a whole bunch of adventures so that you can pick from. So you can actually go to that and link that and follow along where these are placed.
I'm excited about the special guest. I feel like this is a surprise birthday.
It is the big name of all time, the Pluffett Smedger himself.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Wow, it's a rare treat for me.
Yeah,
hi, Gary.
Bill, I'm sure we'll get to that update and we'll get to the new adventure that
Carlos
is working on at the end. Absolutely.
So
yeah. So Gary, thanks for coming on, and I know
Absolutely.
I know you wanted to pay homage to Carlos and what we're all doing here, and so I wanted to. Go ahead.
Carlos is doing what we'd all love to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. If we had the guts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, for you to pay homage to me is like Wayne Gretzky paying homage to me as a hockey player. I'm the guy I'm following in your footsteps, Gary. You're one of the giants on whose shoulders I stand on, because you've been so inspirational. I took your name in vain earlier in the chat talking about Radek, how you really were the inspiration for me to do Caverns Cove and expound upon Radek. But more than that, I mean, just the detail to your work, the attention to detail, the fact that I'm working right now in the Great Kingdom is a testimony to your influence. So you're one of the giants of our community, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, you're one of the nicest guys in the community and deserve all the kudos you get.
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary.
And I can one up what Jay just posted. So I'm posting a link right now.
Ooh.
So this is a link that takes you to a page that just has Castle Entertainment modules on it.
Oh, look at that!
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
That's super kind of you, Gary, to do. Thank you so much.
And as you can see, there's some work to do on the eastern side of the map.
Yeah.
There is some work to do. And as a matter of fact,
the new one's not on there.
Now it is a time for me to tell you, now that Gary is here, I can talk about my newest project.
Oh, I could throw this up? Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead and throw it up. This is a sneak preview of the cover of my new module.
And that is LF1, correct?
I'll let you pull it up before I speak. That is LF1, otherwise known as the 9. Right?
Yes.
Now, let me tell you a little bit about LF1, the 9. Okay. Now, first of all, you will note the color of the module. That is very specifically taken sample from Keep on the Borderlands.
Yep.
I am again, Village of Hamlet was so inspirational to so many people love it. So too is Keep on the Borderlands, considered one of the best modules ever made. Yep. I decided what I wanted to do. I had this vision, but I wanted to take a location somewhere in Greyhawk and take it through the 4 seasons of the year and say, this is what it happens in spring. This is what happens in summer. This is what happens in autumn. This is what happens in winter. And I kind of had at first this idea of like it being like a French Foreign Legion kind of a deal. So I talked to Gary a little bit and I said, hey, Gary, I really want to do something in the Great Kingdom. And we talked a little bit. I gave him some ideas of what I kind of wanted, the kind of feel I wanted for an area. And he gave me a recommendation. So this particular module takes place on the edge of the Sea of Medigia, which some of you may know is one of the most horrific places in the Flanaess right now, in the wake of the Greyhawk Wars. When Ivid sent his troops down there to punish the censor Spedicia of the Sea of Medigia, who is the high priest of Hextor, he basically turned the Sea of Medigia, the whole of it, into the abyss on Earth. Places like Ponteliver are absolutely horrific in description. If you read I Use the Evil, or excuse me, Ivid the Undying. So I have placed. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the 9. Actually, we're going to actually let's open up some. Let's fill some sacred cows here. Okay, so the idea is this: there was a keep at the top of the Sea of Medigia that was basically right between the Lone Heath and the Grand Wood and the sea, and it was just kind of a strategic location at that point in time. A free minor nobleman owned the place. When all this happened, battle lines were drawn in the Great Kingdom. Some people sided with the Overking, some people did not. This particular owner of this keep rebuked the actions of the Overking as horrific against his own people, and so he was an enemy of the state. The only problem is Bulwark, which is the name of this keep, is basically impregnable the way it's been designed, and so it was very hard to directly lay siege to it. The owner of this keep realized that what was going on in Medigia, behind him to the north, in the Lone Heath, and in the Grandwood, these people were very pastoral and peaceful for the most part. The death toll would be catastrophic if the evils that were in Medigia were allowed to go to the north. So basically, this keep has been designed to hold the line against these things that are to the south. There were 13 divisions originally, each numbering a score of people at this keep. That's the beginning of the war, but attrition has taken over. Okay, the knights and the holy men and the wizards that once were at this place, slowly but surely they have dwindled in numbers, to the point, and even the person who was the keep's land, who owned the land, has died now. Control of it has fallen to his henchmen. He has now been forced to do things like asking for volunteers from the common folk, farmers and artisans and people like that just have guts and determination and understand what the score is. They're now being conscripted into Bulwark to help hold this line, knowing that if they don't volunteer to help, that their families, everything that they hold dear in the Heath and the Grandwood will be slaughtered by these evils. Now, where there once were 13 divisions of a score strong, there are only 4 left, and the highest of them numbers 7. This tale is about the 9th division of these group, which are fly under the sign of the Crimson Wyvern, as you can see on the flag. Now, the cover art was done by my friend Daniel Govar, Castle Entertainment artist Daniel Govar, and as you can see in it, the flag has been trampled into mud. The battle has been lost, but yet there's a hand reaching out for it to hold it aloft and fly the flag of Crimson Wyvern one more time to show everyone in the area that good is not vanquished, and that the evils in the Sea of Medigia will not go unopposed.
Quietly. That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I just love the story. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the story of the 9. We're going to be running it at GaryCon as a part of virtual GaryCon.
And it's going to be streamed, everyone. Friday night main event on GaryCon Greyhawk is the 9, and it's already sold out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Great about it's a low-level module. I mean, we don't get very many low-level modules these
absolutely.
days.
Yeah, I wanted
Not
to
yet,
just
Lomas.
keep, Gary, that it's nice and low level, but there's an actual passage that I wrote in this module. I want to read it out loud for everybody, okay? Because
go for it.
I think it's really important to say. Let me get to the area here on it, because it's in the okay. After I mentioned the Sea of Vanthrace, which is my version, I've called it Vanthrace rather than Medigia, is a realm of unthinkable nightmare, a tangible testimony to the horrors man is capable of visiting upon his fellow man in the name of conquest and revenge. Truly more bleak and grim, few more bleak and grim lands can be found on the entirety of the world's face. The next section is called, but isn't this module for introductory levels? Indeed it is. To explain how new low-level characters can operate in such harrowing environments, perhaps some bit of information and context is required. The Osric role-playing system is meant to replicate the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1E game experience. The 9 is meant to convey the same feel and style as what was put forth in those seminal materials. In the formative days of the game, concepts such as level-appropriate encounters were simply not yet invented. It was completely possible for a party of first-level adventurers exploring some ominous and forlorn dungeon to run headlong into such terrors as powerful dragons or horrific fiends that would be certain to tear them to bloody ribbons if the players decided to confront their opponents. Therefore, wise players, and ones that would see their characters survive to aspire to higher levels, swiftly learned that discretion was the better part of valor, and that their retreat from such situations did not brand them with the distinction of failure. The Advanced Dungeons & Dragons game experience was not designed to be approached in the same way that a video game might be played, with the only consequence for players meeting clearly insurmountable opposition headlong being the need for a reset button. Retreat, resupply, and careful planning and coordination between players instead was the surest way to ensure victory. So that beginning, and it goes on a little bit further, but you've gotten the idea. The idea is, this is big boy school, okay? Advanced Dungeons and Dragons does not have level appropriate encounters. You can run into awful things at being a first level character if you're not smart. Learn to run, learn to hide, and play smart. There, I'm done.
So note that
You're forging heroes.
Yes, I am.
and
Yeah.
I want to give a disclaimer out here to note that we had nothing to do with this, please. Gary Con has badge levels, and the highest badge levels went first. Unfortunately, Alan Growy was both the people who got in Carlos's game. Carlos is very happy with it, ecstatic with it. And note that that was out of. It's not like Greyhawk Con. It's out of our hands or controls how they have it set up. So that Carlos's game is filled, Tim's game is filled, my Hard and Holes Part 1 is filled, but that doesn't mean that everything's filled. There's like 40 events still, everyone, that are not filled. All right. So what is LF1 for?
Oh, I was about ready to write that out. It stands for Legio Fatis, which is the name of the forces that are stationed at
Wonderful.
Oh,
Great
which
question.
is, and it's going to, as I said, I'm going to be continuing this with subsequent products, and I kind of still wanted to do that different seasons kind of approach to it.
Yeah.
So LF1 is what is happening during springtime.
No,
And for those of you guys who are interested in it, I've got a fully regional and local map done by professional cartographer Glenn Seal. So you guys are going to be able to get a Greyhawk map of the area of Sea of Medigia, which really isn't detailed all that much in an official product. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Then yeah, and it's cool to see that I'm old school in one thing, that I've always been old school, meaning no level, meaning encounters are what they are, regardless of what the players are. If they go into the Hornet's Nest when they're first level, then so be it.
Yeah.
And I want the players. Okay, the players are supposed to be playing a military unit, okay, or at least a mercenary group or a group of adventurers, as you see fit. Okay. I want them to learn a couple lessons about how such operations, how they operate. Do reconnaissance. Use divination spells. Use scouts. Don't just go headlong into combat and think that you're going to come out unscathed because you're the heroes and you're fated to do so, because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to ask Carlos this question.
Okay.
These are both of FB1 and LF1 are starting points. So you are perfectly fine with someone using these as their launch point and using this almost like Hamlet as their base of operations,
That's
and then
exactly
move
what I
out
want.
and do their own thing.
That's what I want out of it. I don't expect anybody. I want LF1 and FB1. If you want to play those and don't buy a single other Castle Entertainment product, you should be able to use those for a campaign launch for the rest of your life.
That's what I wanted to hear. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that is exactly what
Hey, Brian.
we need more of that. And I identified this as a hole in our product line when I was down in Florida at GrogCon, and I was, as I said, I was invited down there as a guest of honor, and I saw some people looking through my catalog, and a couple of people were looking at me and they said, "Hey, do you have anything for really low level adventurers, kind of like introductory module?" And I'm sitting there, yeah.
Because Hard and Holes is 3 to 5, and that's low. But
Right.
it's not super low. It's not.
Yeah,
entry.
but it's not really super
entry.
low. So
Yeah.
it was
Yep.
important to me to start
Yep.
reflecting a little bit more of that in. Again, it's the voice of the customer, the voice of the community. I want to hear what you guys want and what you guys think would be worthy additions to the world. We're all in this together. I might be writing this and everything like this, but I don't write it for myself. I want it to, I want this to be something that you guys can use and you guys will love, and I want to make you guys proud of me and proud of our community, that somebody from our community could rise up and do something cool that you guys always wanted to see done. So if you guys have ideas like that, I'm always game to hear them. And so that's the 9 and Caveric's Cove were born out of that need or the desire, or excuse me, the perceived need of the community to have more low level stuff.
Oh, that's Mm-hmm.
So
especially to have like a sandbox to begin with, so to speak, to base your operations from.
Logitellus just mentioned, it's good to see you, by the way. That it's always good to see more Sewell do you happen to have Lex Eterna yet? Or say
Uh-huh.
Forgotten Library of Renette yet? Those I do a lot with a Soul Rich. A lot.
Oh, that's cool.
So let's.
They're my favorite. They're the chosen ones.
We're gonna have another. Here comes another special guest tonight to discuss something else. Let's talk about. Pick one of those two, Carlos. Let's talk about them. Oh my gosh!
Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy!
Here comes another special guest.
Oh, we hear
I thought
you.
it-
We got a reverb, Tim. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Mhm.
I thought it was a member of the Horn Society. I saw horns.
Yeah. Well, he does that on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh my.
The unnamed hang.
Over a moon ago, our secret force, the dark hand of our tribe, struck at the heart of the enemy at Split Rock and slew the blasphemous beast of a Nelb and returned with great prizes. But nature abhors a vacuum. Word has reached us that leaders are now being sent to the fort, as if spat from the mouth of the Old One himself. Comes the eater of children, Zor the reincarnated, and Melandria the mellifluous, the foul seer. They will become a vile serpent in our lands and drive us forth, drive us away. A serpent must be defanged, and the easiest way to defang a serpent is to cut off its head. So once again, we call our dark hand to ride into the night for a head hunt before it becomes a serpent too powerful. 7 players, 7 barbarians, 4 others.
Awesome.
If you saw this full screen like I did, you would.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ooh,
that's it,
so
guys. So, if you see this schedule for Gary Con Saturday morning,
Yep.
8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern, Dark Hand Headhunt, DM the Ever Mysterious Tim. And this was run, thank you very much there, Patrick, for the gift subs. Yes, this is my life for 41 years. You now understand the fun with Tim. Yeah, absolutely. So,
So
I am
cool.
I am dropping frames.
Thank
You guys
you, Tim.
having issues? Did I just
Yeah,
disconnect?
you're freezing up a little bit here and there on me.
Oh crap!
It's okay. I've been good for me, but yeah.
I think I just DC'd.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did we lose the stream a bit?
I think I DC'd.
Uh-oh.
It's buffering. Yeah.
It's buffering.
Yeah, we're buffering.
Something happened. Frames are dropping.
Yeah.
Am I back?
I think the gravity of Tim's moment just was too much for the
Oh
stream.
yeah, exactly. That was too much of a shock.
Yeah, that.
That
I'll
was
weigh it down.
pretty amazing.
I think
Yeah,
we
that was
survived it.
super, super
I
cool.
think we survived it. We
That
didn't
was
have a full
awesome.
DC.
I love that war paint.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
were-
it was on my end. It was my end. My apologies. It was on my end. I dropped 2,000 frames there. Did not do a full DC though. Fortunately, sorry about that. Oh, we had. Thank you, Canadian, for the gift subs. Someone cheers 100 more subs. We'll get a hype train because we got 2 different people. So just note that it can't be Canadian. But note
By
this.
the way, I feel like the opening act for the Rolling Stones now. You play your heart out and nobody's going to remember you.
So 8 a.m. Saturday. Saturday is chock full of entertainment. Dark Hand. 6 a.m. we have John doing his Lore Masters Arcanum, which is crazy. There we go, Brian. Thanks. Hype train. That's what I wanted to see. Thank you, Brian. You're
awesome.
the man
Yeah.
for the hype. All right, and that'll crank that thing going. And then Tim's on at 8 a.m. I'll be producing it, sitting behind, and you got. Steve Fritzma got the seat. Great. Congrats to Steve, that open seat. But you got the same crew coming back. Carlos, Anna, Will, Gaetano, Matthew, right? And who am I missing, Tim?
That's it.
Yep. So, thanks, Lomas.
And no more Mr. Nice Guy.
And that kicks off the day. And look at this. Greyhawk Blue Box has an open one shot. There's one seat left. Now Tim's, mine's, and Carlos's, 3 of our events are, but Blue Box has one open seat. Then Expeditionary Barrier Peaks. Unfortunately, it's on our channel because we couldn't just fit it into the schedule. And then the Grand Joust with Gary playing, Pluffett Smedger playing. Who are you playing, Gary? Who are you playing that night?
I'm playing a young knight from the Great Kingdom. Decided to turn to the dark side.
Yes.
And wants to show these lesser folk in the middle of the Flannis how it's done.
He's playing the Black Knight of Greyhawk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes, in the joust. I said to Gary the other day, I said in Discord, I said, you know what's going to happen? First pass, you're going to get unhorsed and eliminated.
No.
I can't wait to announce it.
Yes. Tim is the herald for this event.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So he's going to be like what's his name in Knight's Tale.
I've been badgering Jay for more details.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So just note, I what a tie-in, and then After Dark chat again, and then Fane of the Drow. For just wanted to tie that all in. Oh wow, you guys are all generous. Thank you for this monster hype train. So Tim is going to hang with us a little bit, and we'll keep the questions going. You want to talk about those Sewell ones, Carlos? Why don't we do that, and that'll keep Longitalis Rich happy. So,
okay, yeah. In fact, there's one I want to talk about in particular because I saw a couple of comments about it in stream, and that would be Forgotten Library of Ren.
Okay.
C12.
C12.
So I remember an article, and again, I get a lot of my inspiration, like I said, from the community, different people and talking about different things. And one of the things I got inspiration from was Mike Bridges talking on Cannon Fire about Renette. Some of you may or may not know that she's an apocryphal goddess created. She was the fire goddess of the Sewell. She was murdered by Pyramus for her portfolio of fire. This is how he became, the god of murdering fire and venom. Outside of Dark Gate, not far from that, in the Yeomanry, I placed a temple to Renette that was actually unearthed by seismic activity, and the Yeomanry. There's been monsters that have been coming out of there, and the Yeomanry have sent heroes to go in there and explore it. That's one hook from it. But the other hook from it is that the Ruby Cathedral of Wee Johns has decided that there is something connected to Soul Divinity in there, and they're sending a group sponsored strictly by the cathedral to go in there and explore it. That was the tack that I took from it when I was playing it as a playtest. Well, we playtested it at Gamehole Con, and Von Malkiel over there was one of the players in it. Some of you may know him. And so was Justinius. He was actually in that as well. And Justinius actually did one of my favorite moments ever as a DM that I've ever run. A player moment that was just fantastic. But the idea is that it was a forgotten. It's a library of Sewell lore, and underneath the mountains there, the Hell Furnace Mountains, and the creature that is in it is a servitor of Renette. What ended up happening was it's a new monster I created called a Pyroclastic Sphinx. It is a sphinx completely made of obsidian with lava and blood, and it's constantly smoking and radiating heat and things like that. Well, as one of the first servitors of the goddess, when the goddess was murdered, her connection to the Sphinx to Renette was cut off. All of the people inside of the temple, they were starting to die off, and they were looking for alms, and they were looking for mercy from their goddess, and she would not respond to their prayers, and it slowly drove her mad. the silence of that she'd constantly been connected to Renette all this time, the divine silence kind of drove her insane. So the player characters go into this place, and there's a lot of fire-themed monsters and such in there. And basically, at the end of it, they get a chance to meet this first servitor of the goddess, and they get a chance to deal with this insane pyroclastic sphinx. Justinius wants me to tell the audience what I did, and I will tell the audience what I did here in just a moment. You guys are going to kick out of this, but the reason that I feel like this module is a sleeper of my set. I don't see that it gets a lot of love from the audience at large, from the people that buy my stuff. Nobody really ever mentions that one, but to me, it's one of my favorites because I think there's a lot of Greyhawk lore that is in there, and that's kind of how I base how much I love these modules, is how much Greyhawk lore do I get to play with in it, and how much, especially deep lore that really only the super fans will recognize. And there's a lot of that in there. Now, as far as Justinius goes, okay, so we've got this group, this sponsored by the Church of Renette. Now they have a couple of retainers with them. One of which is a halfling trap finder and explorer, because the group, the Weejasians are represented in the player characters by a paladin and a cleric. The cleric is the leader, and she is expounding upon the virtues of Weejas, and we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this inside of there. And one of the other members of the group is a fighter magic user, another one's a ranger or whatever. They're all kind of looking at each other, listening to this priestess of Weejas talking. And some time is going by as she's talking, and Justinius slides me a piece of paper across the table. I'm like, okay. I look at it, I open it up, and on the piece of paper written across the front of it, it says, I cast Charm Person on the cleric. Because he didn't think that this cleric, he was like, I have absolutely no faith in this cleric. She's going to get us all killed. So I let some time go. I'm listening to her talk. About 5 minutes down the track, I said, hey, why don't you do me a favor, quickly roll me a 20. And he did. And she failed her save. I spent the next 3 hours of that game, every time Justinius' character would say something, I would tell that player character, I'd say, you know what? You can't help but be struck by how, that this character has a lot of really good ideas. And you think that this is a good idea. This character had no idea he was charmed the whole time, but he was buying into every single thing that Justinius' character said because of the way it was being presented to him in there. It was the greatest charm that I have ever seen in a game. The way that it just all played out, the way that it totally steered the way that the game was played, it was just really, really good. And the player, to this day, I've never told him that he was charmed the entire time.
Awesome.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So
But,
it's isn't it great to get to create these memories like that? Just
it's one of the best parts of the game.
Justinius is like, hey, tell him.
And things that you remember all the way down the your history of D&D. Like, I mean, I'll never forget, like, for Tim's initial barbarian game, flying out of there on that rock was just such a it was such a very there was such cinematography for the moment. I just remember thinking about it, envisioning it in my head. I was like, wow, man, that's so crazy. And he just recently did something again as a pregame with that to me. And I was like, oh my God, it was my favorite moment of the game. I got to do something with this. So when I wrote him back, I mentioned that, I kind of like sub rosa something about what my character would do based on that moment. But just these little cool things, hooks that you remember, that you'll always remember about games. It's why we play the game. It's why we fell in love with it. At least for me, it is. And part of the magic.
That will require a DM niceness roll on my part.
In other words, it'll never happen in a million years. Okay, so
Never know. Never say never.
And
It's totally fine. I just threw it out there. I mean,
It was good. I was like, that's smart thinking.
I want to point out something, okay, to the whole to everyone watching, and to how important the community is to everyone. Tim is DMing, and Anna and Carlos are playing in that game during GaryCon. I'm running Anna's, map making seminar.
Yeah.
I am running a joust with Tim and Gary Holian playing in, right? I am also running the Ask the Experts with Gary in it as well. And Carlos has games with Alan Growy in his. So you understand what I'm saying?
That's this little community we have.
I'm just saying that's the key to what's been going on in the community, and that's
we all support each other 100%.
Yeah, and that's the wonderful thing.
Because they need something for their efforts, everybody else is so willing to jump in and help and pitch in.
And I know this. I know Rob Phantom has joined in a bunch of games, and I saw Vamp Wickman. I saw Prometheus. I'm sorry if I forgot all of you, but a lot of you already signed up because you got the higher badges. That's great.
Yep.
Note that there's a ton. The community needs the support, and there's like 40 events that have open seats. And when this next round comes, hit them all. Hit all the Greyhawk ones. Greyhawk Reborn needs some love. They only have a couple seats filled. There's a lot. And Wiley's event got all messed up because there was a time change, so he hasn't even had his open. It just reopened up. So there's games all over the place. Please feel free and support everyone. I think Scott Casper's is almost sold out. Alan Growy's are almost sold out. Gaetano has one almost sold out, right, Gaetano? I know Prometheus has got them. I know Leslie Reno has some adventures. So just have fun with it all. So there you go.
If you guys don't have if you guys are going to sign up for any of them too, Gaetano and Alan Growy run such an amazing game. I've watched both of them play before. Oh my God, getting involved in one of their games would be a treat.
I was going to do Gaetano's, but then work reared its ugly head, so I'm not able to do that. But I was definitely going to do it.
Yeah, Gaetano's Grendelwolf. Grendelwolf is on. Yeah, Grendelwolf's on. Gaetano's playing in Tim's as well. Yeah, I was shocked my games all have play. Yeah, so that's great. And so the point I'm trying to make is that there are great DMs beyond. God, I don't want to sound beyond Carlos, beyond Tim, beyond John.
More DMs to run stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying beyond the streamers. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel very much targeted because I need to step up my DM abilities and do it. So
thank
next
you, Corey.
year
I didn't
is
want to
my
say
goal
that.
to run. Yeah, next year is my goal to run
You're
at
good,
least
Brian.
3 events at conventions and games, stuff like that.
The only reason that I have not donned the brass knuckles to get into one of your games on it is because I'm not really Pathfinder savvy.
It doesn't need. I'm not that Pathfinder savvy either. So come on here.
Carlos,
I run 2E. This is my very first game I run in 2E. So I know now. I have a couple of players who know 5 times more about Pathfinder 2E than I do.
It just makes you really self-conscious. So you're like,
feel free to link.
They correct me constantly on the rules.
Feel free to link one of your games each. Everyone in GaryCon. Link your game, please. It's okay. Link one of your games in that you may want to have signups for. I'm more than happy for you all to do that. Okay, please do that. Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say Gaetano. I've seen him singing as a player. He's actually sang songs. He's actually done spontaneous, or maybe not spontaneous, but like tribal poetry, a warrior death chant before going into battle. I mean, I wanted in that game. So somebody get in there.
That's one of the reasons he's the real deal. I definitely wanted to give him some love as far as mentioning his game. And Alan is like you, as I said, I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah. So I didn't want to get off on the love fest that much, but the point I wanted to make was everyone here is helping everyone else out, right, Gary?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gary, speaking of which, speaking of helping people out, and speaking of that, Gary and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Gary, but Gary and I have talked, have been in discussion about a collaboration post Gary. So
Cool.
you may actually get a chance to see, some of Gary's ideas and some of his concepts in play in a Castle Entertainment module coming to you soon. So I couldn't be happier or more excited about that.
Everyone okay if we go late?
I'm fine.
Is
I'm
it
good to
already
go.
time to end this? I thought we were starting.
It's only been 2 hours almost.
Damn, we have to go another 4 hours.
I always put it out there for courtesy. So
Okay, yeah.
Got
What's really cool about Carlos's modules is that even though the serial numbers of Greyhawk are filed off, you can see, hold up the black light, hold up whatever you need to, you'll see the Greyhawk all over it.
Yeah, you should have a master list of your filing off, so to speak, and publish that as a separate.
DNA doesn't lie.
I actually have such a document in preparation. I don't
Good.
know. I mean, it would be a shame if it got released in the wild and somebody actually posted that and the fans got a hold of that because then
You can have a.
Yeah,
but of course my modules really don't have it.
It will be terrible if that comes out. It will be
How could you
absolutely
be
terrible.
held responsible if some fans on Cannon Fire decide
Exactly. We
to produce
can,
a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, I'm a fan. We'll see. We can work on something. Yeah.
There was a question that we had in the audience that I wanted to
Sure.
that I did want to bring up. Wiley, our good friend Wiley Hobbit, who's an awesome player, awesome DM, asked about how easy it would be to 5e our modules. The truth is, I don't think that our modules really would have that hard of a time being converted. The reason I say that is because I'm not as the story is what's important in these modules. The fact that they're also a source book on top of being a story, that's really the bulk of what you're getting here. So the rules conversion portion of it should not be that much of an issue. There's obviously concepts that don't translate between 5e and the Osric /1e experience, like advantage doesn't really exist there. So that you're going to need to do a little bit of retooling from that perspective. But I would suspect that you would be able to use about 85% of what I do in a 5e game with minimal change.
So I'm going to throw on that realm. I'm going to throw something out Carlos doesn't even know about. Okay, and we'll talk afterwards. I'm just going to throw it out there. Someone in the audience, you don't have to say who you are, has offered to put horror in the holes and convert it for Fantasy Grounds.
Wow. No, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
So you and I can talk after. I just want to put it out there that it's a possibility, and that's the first. Awesome. Okay. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'd be pleased if anybody needs any kind of support with that from my end.
So we could talk about it, but I'm just saying that it's kind of there's a momentum, and I just wanted we could talk, but I just wanted to throw a little tidbit out there. Yeah, because I know a lot of people love FG. So
I have a weird kind of feel about 5e. To be honest with you, there have been times that I've been thinking to myself, you know what, Castle Entertainment really needs to release something for 5e at some point in time. And then there's the other portion of me that's like, well, why don't I stick to what I'm good at and let people convert it as they will? Or who am I going to alienate with doing that? Or am I going to be? How is it going to be perceived or whatever? The truth is that I will probably not release a 5e module. I think I don't know how everyone else feels here in the room, and this isn't a subject I really want to rabbit hole down too much, but I feel like 6e is actually not far away.
I agree.
I think 6e is probably not far away. I will probably do what I did with 3 and 4 and 5, which is I probably won't do anything officially supporting those, but I will probably do 6e.
Interesting. Very, very interesting observation.
Thanks for the link, by the way, Gary. That's kind of you to do. But the just so you guys know, it's not like something that is eluding me, and I'm not trying to relegate a part of our audience to I only do 1E is the one true edition. I don't play that game. Okay. I just want to make sure that we when you guys get a Castle Entertainment product, it's something I can stand behind 100% as far as systems go. I'm an expert at the system, and I'm not at 5e. So
I want Naz. And they shipped this to you in the UK, right? Tim got this all the way over in the UK, a hard copy. So I want to hear what you did to convert it to 5e. I really do, Tim, the Nazrat. So let me know, and if you're going to play it. And Brian Sublime's another one. He's a 5e guy, and he's a Fantasy Grounds 5e guy. So
and again, and I know that I just saw Nazrat and Rich's comment in there.
Yeah.
You know what? I could absolutely be wrong about 5e's longevity. Okay, I may very well be about it. I just get that it's a gut feel for me. It's nothing I know about. I sense it, and I got that same sensation about 3.5 about the same time when it happened. So I feel pretty. I wouldn't say I feel 100% with it, but I got that. I'm pretty sure I got that feeling. But again, it's nothing. It's just I could be wrong. And as far as 5e stuff goes, it's something I can visit down the road. If it persists, by the end of the calendar year, maybe it's something I can revisit. But I don't want to give you guys a product that you're reading it and you're like, man, I wonder why he didn't do this. And the truth is, it's just because I'm not rule savvy enough to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of conjecture out there. I know this, and that you and I, and now Will, who's doing Old School Essentials, right? Our Old School helps us with our streams because there's 500 5e streams out there.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like 99% 5e, 1% Pathfinder, and then there's us. Right.
Yeah.
So
Vintage.
And again, this is where I have to throw out my traditional tagline that I always throw out about editions. They're like tools in your golf bag, or they're like tools in your toolbox, man.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use a screwdriver to hammer in a nail unless you were out of hammers. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel is the right edition
Absolutely.
to convey the experience that you want to convey, that's the right edition. That's the perfect edition. There's no one that's better than another.
All conjecture too, and you're correct, Stephen. That may be the way to go too. They may want to hold off and milk that as much as they can. So, Tim, Gary, either one of you have like a Greyhawk placement or theory or methodology question for Carlos?
Yeah, I'd like to hear some thoughts from you guys.
How does he come up with the names?
There you go.
Names of adventures. Well, usually for me, I got a masterclass in adventure design from Jim Ward in about 5 minutes of talking to him. If you ever want to listen to him, if you ever want to talk to somebody who knows something about designing modules, it's Jim. And Jim was saying that he always starts every adventure when he begins it. The very first thing he does is he creates the random monster encounter table. And the reason he does that is because he wants to know what are possibilities. He wants to design what the parameters are, the possibilities are.
He wants to set the tone.
Exactly. Now, I don't really do that per se. I have that advice I use a similar methodology, but it's not quite what he did. And that is I start with a map. I have a map over there so I can see physical constraints, because I feel the map physical constraints will inform type of creatures ecologically that will be in that realm, and then I can do the random monster encounter table much more easily. So that's the second thing I do, is the monsters that will be there after the map. So when I have maps and monsters, right after that, the third thing I do is I realize how that is going to affect the kind of story I want to tell, which is really the nebulous concept at first. Like, for example, I say something like, I want to run an adventure with Githyanki on the astral plane. Okay, well, right away I have to have a map, then I have my random encounters. Now I know exactly what kind of story I'm going to tell. The name comes then. And the name usually comes from some kind of, I try and think to myself, okay, Gary, you're my co-pilot, Gygax. I look over to the ghost of Gary next to me and say, what would you call this thing? Use your deep vocabulary, your evocative kind of. He had a real gift for that, evocative language, and I try and think in terms of what Gary would have called this, not what Carlos would have called. What would Gary have called this? And that's usually what I end up coming up with.
Very cool.
And in some cases, there's an unspoken sub rosa thing to it too. Like for example, I have a module called From His Cold Dead Hands, right?
You mean this one?
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to talk about this one. I love this one. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, I love Cold Dead Hands. But there's a revenge aspect to Cold Dead Hands, right? Well, I am, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm a big comic book nerd, and in fact, my hobby on top of D&D is I collect original comic book art. Well, one of the stories written for Sin City by Frank Miller is called That Yellow Bastard, and everything that's inside of it is drawn in yellow every time this guy is done. Well, because he's got a kidney problem, he's all jaundiced. Well, anyway, From His Cold Dead Hands is kind of when they're talking about that yellow bastard, it's kind of like from you're going to take this from me from my cold dead hands. That's kind of, and the guy's undead and it's in a polar region, so it makes sense.
This is so remotely placed. Explain where it is, Carlos.
That module is placed in a place called Yotsblak, which is in the land of the barbarian states up to the north, but it really takes place in a unmarked island on the icy sea, which is way, way to the north. Again, I like doing things. There are three things to make a good castle entertainment module. The first thing is really oblique environmental problems that the players have to encounter, whether that be toxic gas in the air, whether that be like, I don't know, the footing in it is soft and so your movement rate is reduced to 3, or it's partially flooded. The last of these is in Cold Dead Hands, the particular one of them is the frigid environment that's in there. It's a real concern. Exposure, what cold does to certain aspects of things that adventurers take for granted. These are all aspects of what I do with modules. But Cold Dead Hands uses the whole barbarian state's altitude and or I should say where it is on the map to make it a very challenging environment, to say the least.
Very, very cool.
But that is one of the things I do really work at, is making sure that there's environmental concern on every module. I want you to deal with not just monsters when you're adventuring, because I find that environmental concerns, what they do is they create immersion for players. When you're dealing with like a module where you I don't know, the whole area is flooded into the city of the Elder Gods. You're dealing with knee-deep water in most of it, okay? As I can continually describe you sloshing through it, and the way that what it's doing to your gear, or the way that the salt is collecting to the walls, or the vegetation growth, or the way that the humidity inside of there based on the water and what it's doing, or you're hearing noises in the distance and it creates tension. All these kind of things, they're all born not of monsters, they're environmental concerns. And the players, not only is it a detriment to them, but smart players can use it to their advantage. So I like doing things with the environment like that in modules that force the players to, maybe it's not your typical dungeon crawl. It's something a little bit more challenging in that respect, where you're dealing with something that is not necessarily your element.
And it would be hilarious for them to defeat the enemy, but then freeze to death.
Yeah, like at the end of the God, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
the Revenant, the end of the Revenant.
It is a bad. It's a bad way to die. It's a bad way to die, and it's a real easy way to die. I mean, yeah, swamps. Lazzy Monkey mentions that's why swamps are always horrifying. We did that in Horror in the Hools. If you read the publication of it now, when it was being played out in the convention environment, it was a little bit different of a story. But if you read the campaign notes that come with Horror in the Hools, I expound a little bit more about, the swamps and what the challenges you have inside of there.
Or I know when you ran the charity game, it was over a year ago when I was playing, and a winter swamp was like, I was dreading that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I was dreading it
Oh,
because I know what that is like.
Yes. Seasonal and climate and elevation. Tim, you were also in a game with me in over with the other charity game when I did Tears That Forever Stain.
Mhm.
And there are some serious environmental concerns in that module.
Yes, there is.
There was a hand wave in that module for a convention environment in which you don't have to cross the savannah to get there. But if you are playing that in a campaign, I have you teleported a substantial way across. You have to cross about 150 miles of Hepmona land in savannah to get there. And it is brutal to get there. I mean, I'm talking, there's a whole section.
Memorize that create water.
I have a section in there called life in the land of Kavrala, which is what I call Hepmona land. And all it is a section telling you about weather and all of the horrible things that can happen to you from inclement weather in Hepmona land. It is basic. I should have renamed it 100 Ways to Die in Hepmona land, because I'm talking about flash fires, flash flooding, wind storms. There are so many good ways to go out in an area like that, and none of them have anything to do with monsters. So, these are all things that player characters are going to have a hard time dealing with that are hack and slash players.
Yeah. And Carlos gave me one of the nicest compliments ever for the way I played my mage. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
You played a magic user. You actually surprised me too, Jay. Because to be honest with you, I thought that you were gonna. When I think of Jay, I think of the real tactical kind of player that plays with mini play. I figure, okay, he's probably going to be a fighter guy mostly, and so I expect when you pick the magic user, I was surprised to begin with, but when you played that magic user to such awesome effect, I was really pleasantly surprised. You did a really nice job with her. Really nice job.
So
Never mess around with Jay when death is on the line.
Exactly. So
thanks, Scottish Jeff and Dwyer. You guys were awesome in that too. And Scottish Jeff, yeah, you're one of the most tactical players I've ever met. So yeah, very much.
Let's talk about both of the fundraiser modules. Are they still available, Carlos?
Yeah, they're both still available, and the money's still going to those charities. We just kind of checked not long ago again to Red Rover, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
Okay, so the first module, the one that's on Jay's left, or Jay's right, you visually to the left, is called Lost Dog. And for those of you guys who know me, you know that my charity of choice is the Cheetah Conservation Fund. I love that animal. It's very important to me personally. But when I was planning on doing a charity, it was right about the time of the California wildfires, and we had the problems in Australia with wildfires at the same time. And again, my merchandise Valkyrie, my wife Amanda, she's Australian, born and raised not far from Sydney. So I'm very acutely aware of what's going on with these wildfires. And I'm reading an article in which we're talking about all the pets that were displaced by these things. People would, the pets would freak out at the fire and they would run. And I'm a cat owner, and all I could do was sit there and imagine how horrifying and how absolutely terrible it would be to lose your pet. It's wandering around the countryside. You have no idea where it is in an environment like that. I mean, it made me want to cry thinking about, my pet in a situation like that. So I decided I had to do something about that. And I found a charity called Red Rover. What Red Rover does is their mission, among other things, is they they reunite owners with lost pets. They they'll give money, or they'll hire drivers to return a pet cross country to you, pay for fuel, whatever, things like that, lodging and things like that. That so that people can be reunited with their animals. I thought that was just the coolest charity ever. So I created Lost Dog, and Lost Dog was done for the benefit of Red Rover and their mission, and because I knew they were also really involved with the California wildfire thing. The whole plot takes place when the player characters who are down on their luck. The player characters have they have a manor inside the free city of Greyhawk. They've been successful adventurers. They killed a dragon. They're real happy with themselves, but they've got this one degenerate member of their party who I won't go into details, but ends up losing all of their money and gets killed for his trouble for it. So now they're broke. The rent is coming due on their manor. They realize they've got to do something. So they're slumming in the slum quarter of the free city of Greyhawk, trying to find any job basically that'll take them, because their names are mud in the free city based on their barbarian who's dead, his actions. They end up working for a very young girl who has lost her dog Bucky, and they get involved in her plot and realize that there's a lot of missing pets in the slum quarter. They end up getting roped into whole intrigue about how that's happened and who is responsible and why. I remember that was we played 3 rounds of charity games for that over the course of 3 nights. And it was people really received it well, and we got I think that time we got a $500 donation to Red Rover, and it was I was really excited about it. It was good for everybody, and hopefully we helped some missing pets out doing that, and we continue to do so as we continue to get revenue from Red Rover, or from that module. That was I was really gratified when it was all over with, because even though I'd been part of Jay's charity games before, and I really loved what he does with it, it doesn't hit home until you're the one doing it, that how much of a difference our community can make. We're all gamers are very intelligent people, they're passionate people, and for the most part, we represent, a subculture that doesn't mind getting involved. We're heroes and heroines. We're that's what we've always that's what we strive to be. That's the nature of the game. It brings out the best in us. And I found out that when we unite, we can change the world. And that inspired me to do the next module, which was I had CH2 ready to go. I was ready to launch it, and the pandemic. And I thought to myself that I didn't like the optics of asking for money when so many people were having trouble making rent. I thought that was kind of I thought that was in poor taste. So I sat on it, the idea of doing a second module. The second module was going to be for my personal charity of choice, which is Chief Conservation Fund. And I decided that I was going to make it a big deal. And I ran it over 7 days, 11 sessions of it, 3 hours at least sessions of it. I was totally wiped out by the end of it, but we raised about $3,000 for it for the Cheetah Conservation Fund, and you can expect me to be doing more stuff with them in the future. I just got an email from them. I sent a copy to their director, Lori Marker, who is in charge of that, and I've just been asked they're doing a fundraiser for them, and they want to know if I can get involved with that too. So you can expect me to be involved with Cheetah Conservation Fund charities and things like that going forward. Although the next year's module is going to benefit a different animal charity that I will remain nameless for. I have an idea of who it's going to benefit.
So, and note this too when it comes to charity. So everyone knows what happened with Nightheart Gaming and with Texas and how awful that was, and they couldn't participate in the 36 plus hour Greyhawk Mega Stream event. It's that second day. Tim starts at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I basically last second said to ask Carlos and asked Will, "Can you guys run long?" and they did, and that was a great thing too. And we spread that out. What a wonderful, both days were awesome.
Yeah.
And Carlos went an extra hour, and Will went an extra 2, and we started an extra hour early. We filled all that time slot, and we wanted to raise 5. And we raised $10,000, and that's just how.
Yeah, that was
In a
awesome.
pandemic.
I remember. I'm actually. It was a blessing in disguise that happened for me, and I say that because I think that if I would have run it at the normal length, my part of the scenario, I would have ended up having to really shortchange it. As it was, I rushed the end, and I had extended it an extra hour at your behest. But yeah, the players really seemed to like it, and I got to get it up a little bit more, and yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. Gary, you gotta have a question for Carlos.
Got a couple actually.
Go for it.
So the first thing I noticed is that almost all your modules have pre-gens.
They do.
And that's something in first edition that I always loved because it was a way for Gary to sneak in a little bit more lore in there. Those backstories in Isle of the Ape were very inspiring. We definitely tried to include them in all the later material we worked on. So one of the things that, of course, that pre-gen suggests is that you kind of have a novel in your mind for this module, a way, the pacing, how it's going to come out, how these people are going to participate in. Is that how you tend to see it, like almost like a comic book?
You are right on the money. You are absolutely right on the money. That is exactly how I do it, and that is exactly why I create the pre-gens. And that is, if we think about all the pre-gens that you've seen through history, Dread Delgath or Glebe Warp the Eyebiter, or people like that you can't help, or Warnish Starcode, people that you can't help, Reichelt Shirt, that you just can't help but associate with the setting in a true, real fundamental way. Now they become part and parcel of the fabric of Greyhawk, even as much as any of the slave lords were. So, yeah, for me, that's a way to expand upon lore and highlight pieces of lore that I particularly like. And I do have kind of always kind of this novel and in this kind of a narrative in mind going into it. But I always have to be careful with that too, at the same time, that I don't get married to that, because I want players to be able to play this and DMs to be able to play this in the ways that they want to. I have to be cognizant that some of them will not want to drop it in Greyhawk. I have to be cognizant of the fact that some of them will like certain parts of the idea and not others. So I have to make them function independently of one another. So yes, I do absolutely do that. And you've actually just brought up something that I really want to talk about the 9, because you brought up comic books.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a friend, and I'm in talks with him, and there's nothing solidified yet. But the 9, I've submitted the first of the drafts for it to be used as a comic book.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So,
That's awesome.
All the pre-gens that you see in there would appear in the comic book. People that would play test this would have a chance to influence possibly the way things go. So yeah, I would be writing a monthly book based on the 9.
Which would create so much more lore for a DM who's using this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, and that's part of why this was really a something for me that I was really excited about. Obviously, I'm a comic book nerd. It's one of my dreams always to write one, but the opportunity for us to have as a community, for us to have something out there supported as a monthly book that all of us know is Greyhawk. Oh man, it just gives me chills to think about what we could do with that material, and what kind of a platform that is for us, and a chance for us to wave the flag. In this case, the flag of the 9. It's compelling to me on so many different levels. It's something that I think it would really work out well for us. And as you mentioned, it has a very when you go into something like that, obviously you have that narrative in mind that this is how the comic book is going to roll out. But giving you a little bit of an idea of what the 9 is all about. The idea is these are peasant farmer heroes, okay? The attrition rate in this is going to be ultra high. If there are survivors from one to another, it will be a surprise to me, frankly. Okay. You're going to get new conscripts all the time. This is going to be if you want to go with a comic book, this is very Strike Force Morgue story. Okay. We are who are about to die. You go
Like
into it
7.
knowing you're going into it knowing you're going in there because you've got guts, because you love your family and you love your land, and you know you're going to die, but you know what? Sometimes it's the sacrifice that matters. And I think that's I think there's something really compelling about it. The story I want to tell, as far as a player, as far as a writer goes, is a little bit about the horrors of war and the inhumanity that man is willing to visit upon one another in the name of conquest and revenge, like I said in that piece about the Great Kingdom. These are going to be very real people. They have stories, they have desires, they have drives and loves, and they're all young and they have infinite potential. And just think about war. Think about what happens. Think about the machine that they're just. And I don't mean that in terms of the military. I mean that in terms of war in and of itself, how it chews people up and spits them out. We all these dreams and everything like that. There's no way a headstone can appropriately convey those things. Okay, so I want that to be something that has gravity in the story. I want you to realize that, hey, these are people. You're playing these characters that have all these ideas or what they stand for and represent, and their dreams and hopes, and they're fighting a force that it's like trying to drink the ocean. Okay, there's no way, but yet they're here, and it means something. So that's kind of what I'm trying to convey there as far as the story goes.
You said you had another question too,
Awesome.
Gary. You got another one?
Yeah. The other question I had was about the cover art.
Yeah.
Do you create a cover art order yourself? Because this is some of the best art I've ever seen, and it really tells you, what you're going to face in this module. I mean, it's really.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Gary. I do. Before we got on air, I was telling Anna one of the things about doing Castle Entertainment that is kind of it's one of the more taxing jobs that nobody really realizes that you do. You see me writing all these modules and everything, but my artists aren't telepathic. Okay, they don't know what I want, so I'm having to write out an entire art direction for all the interior art that I have on. Some of our newer modules have interior art, the cover art, the back cover art, player character, or not the player pre-generated characters. Everything requires art direction. And yes, I had a very, very clear vision in mind for the 9, for example. I told the artist as I was writing, I gave them the idea what I wanted. It had to have the flag of the Crimson Wyvern on it, and it had to have the 9 on it. But what I really wanted it to convey was I wanted the flag to be trampled in the mud. I wanted it to be broken. I wanted it to be torn. Yet there was a hand reaching down for it to pick it up. I wanted this almost Iwo Jima kind of a feel to it, where you know what? We're battered, we're beaten, we're broken, but we're not defeated.
There you go. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, the cover art for the Gnome trilogy is so funny. I mean, of course you're thinking 7 Samurai. You could take those 3 covers, you could put them in any order, and you're like telling a story with just those 3 pieces of art.
Yeah, and
pretty amazing.
I'm glad you brought those 3 up because and you got you knew, again, you nailed the inspiration. My whole inspiration of it was I wanted to tell a story about my version of the 7th Samurai / Magnificent 7. And when I was doing it, I thought to myself, okay, Magnificent Seven Western, Seven Samurai, Japanese film, samurai Asian. What can I do to kind of marry those two concepts together and create, oh my God, Merlin? So I made them all monks of Merlin. If you read the module, I imply very heavily that Merlin visited them, in a different guise, and gave them their martial art. That's why they all use hand crossbows. That's why their holy symbol is the six-pointed star. So yeah,
It's like a movie I want to see.
Yeah.
With these 7 unarmed, martial artist gnomes.
I'm glad you said that, though, man. It's gratifying to hear. Chet Minton did the art for all 3 of them. I personally feel that the best piece he's ever done for me is the piece from C-15, Squaring the Circle, which is the top-down look at them when they're getting ready to go in there into the final battle.
Yeah, it's Arthurian.
Oh, I love that cover. And I didn't really give him a ton of art direction on that one. That one I kind of I let him do a little bit more than I usually do. I love how it turned out. I think he did a great job. But that set of modules, the third one there, that C-15, I got a chance to use another piece of Greyhawk lore that I really love that I never get. I don't see a lot of people giving a lot of love to, which is the whole Oinodamon thing from Thor the Rogue. I get a chance to bring that up.
Oh yes.
So,
Yeah.
the whole module, it takes place inside of kind of an inverted tower. Okay, it's built. It's into the ground. The characters are delving into it, and what they don't realize is the cult is using this as a foundation. What they intend on doing is they intend on teleporting the entire wasting tower of Kin Oin onto the prime material, allowing the Oinodamon to do that, letting him teleport there, and it's going to fit in this recess in the ground. It's a foundation for the tower. Yes, as they go down into the spiral down there, they think to themselves, okay, this is just a delve that you're going down underground with. It's like built in a straight shaft. That's not quite really what it's for. And the whole thing is, I made it very Grecian oriented to reflect the fact that the Oinodamon's home plane is Hades. And I did a lot of fun stuff with it. So I really liked designing. That was a lot of fun. Getting a chance to use the Oinodamon and a lot of those the Daemon monsters that you don't get a chance to use.
Absolutely.
Was a lot of fun. And that module, actually, I killed a PC in that module in one of the most gruesome ways I've ever done it. There's a creature in there called the Bleak Rasha, let's try it again. The Bleak Maharaja, who's a Rakshasa from the plane of Hades. I remember he reached forward and he grabbed one of the gnome PCs with 3 fingers, like it was a bowling ball. He pierced his 2 eyes, and in his mouth, and he crushed his skull, just the face of it. When he pulled it back, everything was just falling out from the hole in his face. It was a gruesome death. I loved it.
Yeah, you have Tim's attention right there.
Approved. But that was a lot of fun. That particular playtest death was pretty gruesome. And in fact, that particular playtest death was from JC Luxton, was the player for that. And JC is a huge fan of the fake port of Selene. And I will just leave that there. Selene, someplace I have some interest in.
Cool. Anna, any questions?
I'm just
taking it all in,
and I'm enjoying it so much, and it's so cool to see, Carlos. I love the fact that you have these kind of huge ambition to introduce major villains like coming from other planes, the demons, devils, and stuff like that. Because one of the things, and now I'm going to be critical of a card sergeant a bit, that especially his era. And I praised Carl Sargent a lot because I love a lot of what he done.
Me
What
too.
his source books are some of the best things ever written for Greyhawk, period, in my opinion, from my standpoint. But
Agreed.
I have a couple of major criticisms with Carl Sargent. One is that it seems like he turned the way I see it is that the good are few, well organized, they trust each other, like it, I love is to support each other. The evils are they hate each other in as much as they hate the good ones, so to speak. They are liars, deceiters. They are kind of, they can't organize a lot of them because they can't trust each other. They especially the chaotic evils, which
Right.
means that they have the numbers, and they have, meaning they have hordes of them everywhere. But Carl Sargent seemed to have got that a little bit backwards, because he always talks about the good ones being unable to organize, poor and deceitful and whatnot, so to speak. And that's not my idea at all, so to speak. I'm thinking that you have hordes of evil and stuff like that going, but the goods aren't full of treacherous people. That and the good nations aren't full of people who just want to murder the king and do all sorts of stuff, so to speak. So I have a little bit of a bigger contrast there for it, meaning there are a lot of temptations on the evil side that the good will go to, but I just like in the real world, when most people are basically decent human beings, don't want to go out and murder their neighbors and do all sorts of stuff. There are a few, but occasionally you get systems that things go completely haywire. And in a fantasy world, that is a lot more like things that can tempt you politically or whatever to go nuts and so on and so forth. And that's way. But Carl Sargent seemed to have these kind of numbers a little bit wrong. There were like a few evil cults and stuff that stirred up, and then there were like the mass of chaos among the good, so to speak, and then the evil cults could kind of thrive on that. I see it more like evil when the abyss comes in, then meaning then there is like an endless amount of bad things that can come your way. So you need to band up, and you need to train hard and fight hard in order to win over them. So there's a little bit of different perception of how things are organized in the world.
I totally agree with you, Anna. I think that's important, and I also think that you just reminded me of something very important that I'd like to ask. I'd like to solicit the opinions of everyone involved here and out in the crowd in chat. Chime in on your opinion on this, right? I was asked the other day. I went on Facebook, and I was just kind of I'm thinking about my future products, and I'm kind of designing our path forward. And so I asked everybody, I was like, what kind of areas in Flyness do you think are underrepresented, or do you think that you would like to see something done? And one of the responses I got that I thought was very interesting was the Horn Society. Okay, now I know, Anna, you love the Horn Society, right?
Yep.
Now I said that, do you want to see the Horn Society in gold box form, or do you want to see them post-wars form? Because they're very different organizations.
Yep.
I was stunned at how many people want to see them in a pre-war setting.
Oh yeah.
When they're their own nation. I'm not a huge fan of that. I like them as a more nebulous Hydra-esque group with their tendrils and tentacles and everything. I thought that was genius. Okay.
Yeah.
But that being said, what it revealed to me was that I write everything in terms of 600 CY. And the reason I do it is because it allows me the freedom to go a little bit ahead in the timeline. I can I can do what I want to with the Flyness without feeling that certain pieces of history I'm going to contradict each other. But what it highlighted to me is there might be an appetite from the crowd, from the community, to see a castle throwback module that was written in gold box era. Do you think that has any kind of legs? Would anybody like to see me write a module in 572 or 576 or whatever that actually kind of dovetails with the Gygaxian stuff? The reason I didn't do that when I first started it, and let me expound before you answer this. The reason I never did that is because I'm not Gary. Okay, I felt like that was stepping on his toes way too much. I felt like that was me going where I wasn't welcome. Okay, that was his campaign. That was his home, and I'm not Gary, and I certainly didn't want anyone to get the impression I was saying I was. Okay, that is Ace Dungeon Master #1. I will never be worthy to touch his shine his shoes.
Considering the title of the stream, creating Greyhawk content, I think philosophically that is one of the big decisions you have to make for yourself. You know, if you're going to stay near the heart of the setting or go around and find your own little space to make your own. And I think on balance, we tended to do the latter. Eric Mona did sort of do a little bit of cleanup in the core lore, but even then we knew we were only getting the projection on the wall version of the Platonic Greyhawk campaign, not the real thing.
Right.
So we're bound to make mistakes, and we're bound to be told later that wasn't how things happened. But you do your best.
See, Carlos, I see it as I would rather see you do that 576 than have a re-rise of the Horn Society in the IUs, which I don't think would make sense. I would rather you see you do and then let whoever's playing that, and they say that the Horn Society can thwart off IUs or whatever in the Sergeant era. That's the direction I think. Do you was there?
I think it would be really popular, though. I think it would be really popular, but you might as well go the whole 9 yards. Put the Unnameable Hierarch in there.
Oh, if I was going to do it, the Unnameable Hierarch is a definite. In fact, what I would do if I were to do it is you're going to see an appendix in there of all 13. I'm going to actually flesh it out if I'm going to do that. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, by the way. This is all theoretical. I'm using them as an example because they are a stark example of how the setting changed dramatically between Gold Box and Sergeant era, and a place where the fandom seems to have really divergent thoughts about what is right, what is good, and what is not. Anna, what's your thoughts?
So many. One thing, and now I'm talking from perspective what I would like to see, and that way what I would like to make. I would love to, because you're right that the Horn Society have evolved first in Gary's home campaign, and then it made it into the Gold Box and the early Gary Gygaxian works of Greyhawk, and then they're mentioned a few times in the Gord novels afterwards. That's one kind of branch or storyline of the hierarchs, the Horn Society. And then comes Carl Sargent and wipes them out from the map and basically paint them over with some ugly bits and that's it, so to speak. So now I would love to see would be not so much a module or a single adventure. I would love to see a source book about them from that ties in, because I see that Gary's work with them in the campaign, that's one snapshot. And then you come with Carl Sargent painting them over, making it difficult for us. But that also opens up the possibility of turning them into a villain more like the Scarlet Brotherhood or something, like more hidden villain and a cult that has hidden tendrils and tentacles.
That's the way I took them in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. And I think it's the only solution for keeping them in the campaign.
But what I want to, I just want to finish my train of thought here.
Sure.
So it's the what I want to see is a source book that takes them from pre-Gygaxian through Gygaxian into this. And the way I solved it for my campaign purpose is that it took them the wholehearted idea that they are Flan roots. They are the horned ones from Flan culture, dark druids and neutral evil, deep going into Flan culture back in the day. They were the worst bastards of the Flan culture that were expelled out of Flan culture and society, but they also had a purpose in the Flan society, that they were the asshole we kept out in the woods, kept them alive, so in case an enemy came that was bigger than the whole of our culture, that's when we called in the horned ones to come and help us.
Guns, right.
Yeah, so
the big guns that aren't afraid to do
exactly, and then Yeah,
Tim?
and then the Great Kingdom comes in, and then the whole world changed, and the Flannies, and then the Horn Society changed with them, and so write the story about the organization of Horn Society through the eons.
Tim's
that I would
bolting.
see.
Tim's bolting. He's
I'm getting
exhausted.
up
Sorry.
in 6
Yeah.
hours. I will say good night. I also want to say, look, I love to jump in and be a crazy character, and I love to anecdotally do adventures. But I'm honored to be here with you, Anna, Carlos, Jay, because I know you guys have a discipline to grind out what you're doing, and I respect that so much, and I appreciate, you're accepting my anecdotal fun stuff.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Love you, brother.
See you, Tim. Yeah.
All right, Tim. We'll see you soon. I'll talk to you.
See ya.
That will be my dream project, to have that source book of them and presenting ideas, not die hard like these are the details, you have to go this, but inspirational tidbits, organization, and showing an organization where you can simply take whatever aspect and move with it and present in your campaign version as you see fit, so to speak.
I suppose that this is the appropriate time to address something that was discussed earlier in this chat.
Yeah.
Because of what you're saying right now, and my response to it would be, I would love to do something like that, but I'm not going to finish. I'm not going to do a source book until I finish Firewood.
No,
Yeah.
I totally get that. Yeah. But have that
Firewood,
in mind, so to
too
speak.
deep into that.
Then make one module that would tie in and publish the source
Yeah.
book afterwards, so to speak.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's a
Something-
question. That's a question to throw out there, which is, Carlos, do you have Greyhawk lore that you're sitting on because the venue isn't right yet, and
Yes.
there's stuff that you really can't publish with the serial numbers filed off without compromising
I
it?
have 4 or 5 different projects, 3 of which are finished that I can't do that with. A lot of them were things that I wanted to do for Cannon Fire at one point in time, pre-Castle Entertainment. And as it should turn out, now that I'm publishing Castle Entertainment, it's complicated the way that I'm releasing things. I'm not sure if I want to use it or not for future products, so I don't want to really just throw it out there yet. But my thought initially is, yeah, I am sitting on quite a bit that I like. For example, this dog and the dog thing. I have this. Amanda's probably going to kill me for mentioning this, but there is a project that I worked on back in the day for Cannon Fire using figurines of wondrous power.
Mhm.
Okay. That is something that I may be doing a major work on in the future. And that is the only thing that's held that up is my desire to make that full-on Greyhawk. Because my thought on the figurines of wondrous power is the very first figurine of wondrous power was actually Queen Alyssa's Marvelous Nightingale.
That's
Everything
right.
afterwards has followed after that.
Mhm.
And they've all been kind of using similar spells to create those, to give life to these things. They're just not as well developed or fully realized. Some of them were made by her apprentices and things like that.
Yeah, they vary in power and effect.
Exactly. And I release a little bit of that information in Tears That Forever Stay. It's kind of me. I slipped that in there to create pretext for that project when I actually end up releasing it. So I can say, oh yeah, by the way, I actually did this in Tears That Forever Stay, just so you know. But that's a I kind of really would like to tie the figurines fully to Greyhawk. That's where they started. That's where they were created. And I can't really quite do that yet. But I hope to soon. Hope to someday.
I want to say I've been very quiet lately, which is good because I've been trying to keep up with chat as usual here. But I want to say, and I don't know if you want to take whole credit for this, but you should. There's no one better at stripping out stuff that you're going to get the WotC hammer, Hasbro hammer than Carlos. So if he's the person, he probably has an entire library of who is what, and if you want to keep it the same, you may want to ask him, and he may be able. You know?
I do. And I'd be more than happy to help
Okay.
people with that.
So like
I think it comes from Jay. I usually play wizards or magic users when I'm playing D&D, and you got to be real careful when you're getting into Wish and Limited Wish. So I've gotten really good at how I word things as far as
yeah.
really on the record.
But note, like, so when we were doing this, I'm like, what are we gonna do for Washtree? And he's like, I got it, don't worry about it. I was like, oh, okay. Then Carlos got into all my classes. He's like, I got to change this. I got to change this. And then all the feats, every one he changed. And I was like, that sounds great. Deride, that's a great name. I was like, yeah. And it was just like awesome. All the different. So you'll note that in this one, and I'll say taunt, and he'll say deride or whatever, and it's just like, but it's anesthetized or whatever the word is. It's cleansed.
Yeah.
So
I looked at your list. I remember when I got it. And the first thing I did is I just kind of paused, and then a stream of expletives just fell out because I was like, there is no way I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to rename everything.
And almost everything.
It's what I do.
Yeah.
So no big deal.
Amanda, I understand completely because all the custom classes in there, some of them are, pulled right from a Dragon magazine, and and so I understand.
Yeah.
I was personally
I'm appreciative.
Fond of the job I did. I was personally fond of what I did on the halfling class.
Yes,
I thought
The
that
Defender.
needed a lot of sanitization.
Oh my God,
it came off pretty well.
Yeah, and it's something it's something you all have to consider when publishing, that there's not a spec. Like if you got Anna to do a map, it's gonna have to have nothing on it that is on the Darlene map, right? It can't. So you got to think about all this stuff when creating content that you're going to publish for profit. We're not talking about nonprofit. Yeah. It's something you have to consider. So
even for when it's nonprofit, it gets kind of nebulous. Yeah. I have a friend of mine who's an IP lawyer, and we've had this discussion from time to time. I'm fortunate in that regard because he helps me from time to time when I have a sticky question. But he's told me that even in the nonprofit realm, it can get a little bit dicey.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we have the what's the fan creation policy?
We have another big fan who's going to replace the ever mysterious Tim coming on.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Were you guys talking about WotC going after people?
We know you won.
Yeah, we have an expert here.
Yeah, you fought the line, you won.
I did, but
we were
that can be a whole different show.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring. Yeah, absolutely. I just was saying that for anyone's advice for creating Greyhawk content, go to Carlos because he probably has a name for it.
I do have a name for it, and
okay.
It's pretty codified at this point. So I'd be happy to share that stuff.
Okay. And Carlos, let me give you some
by the way, before I go any further, I do want to mention that somebody that was instrumental in helping me with that is Joe Block, Greyhawk.
Oh, very cool.
He contributed a lot of the stuff to it, awesome. Particularly some of the god names.
Yep, that's great.
So many props to Joe.
I'm gonna give Carlos some props here because I'm jumping onto his guest appearance showing. Hey, Gary, I got my copy of Horror in the Hools, right?
You did,
and I'm like enjoying the heck out of reading this because it's almost like you took the spirits of Gygax and Stan Lee, and that's your writing voice in this module. Like when I write Pathfinder and Living Greyhawk stuff, it's very cut and dry. It's very much the DC is 19, the PCs are going to run into this, the PCs are going to see that. I'm reading Horror in the Hools, and it's like a narrative. It was so much fun. It was refreshingly different from what I write. Yeah.
You know what though, Casey? I when I read your stuff, and I have my Casey Brown collection over here. Your stuff is very. It's reflective of the material that you're conveying.
Casey's.
I mean, we're both exactly we're style mimics of the genre that we're doing. So your stuff is very appropriate for what you do too, and I think you do an amazing job as well. So,
I appreciate that.
No, man, for those of you guys who don't have the Bandit Kingdoms book, you guys absolutely need to add that to your collection. I mean, it's something that it's a piece of Greyhawk lore that and it's a snapshot of time and a place in a campaign that you're not going to get anywhere else. It tells you more about the band. It tells you more about the Band of Kingdoms than I ever knew previously. So the job that he did with that it's phenomenal. So
I'm going to
Well,
shout.
thanks, I owe a lot to Gary's encouragement on the old Thursday night chats on IRC when it comes to that book. But I also want to throw out, filing the serial numbers off. I've been publishing slowly, Living Greyhawk Adventures, with the serial numbers filed off, and there's a lot of work there. But did you say you have like a list you're using for?
You can't get.
Yeah, I created kind of a master list for it.
We don't want.
Well,
that getting
cool.
out.
Like for me, Rook Roost is Riverton, and things like that. But it's obviously supposed to be Rook Roost. But that's a whole different thing, maybe.
I have to throw that in because I haven't mentioned Rook Roost yet. No, I have to throw that in.
Yeah.
Can I tie into something that Carlos said before that I think is I think really important? That you said that we don't want to pretend that we're Gary when we do Greyhawk stuff. So I must say that I'm really impressed by all you guys' bravery and that you can tackle on, because what I do is basically just provide a canvas that people can put stuff on. I don't feel like I want to. I have my own campaign version of the map, but the other map I don't feel like I've added like maybe 3 places to the map or something like that, and others have added, like Mike and others have added 10, 15, 20, 30. Meaning, Carlos, I put way more of your stuff on the map than I put my own stuff on the official map. So
it's one of the ways that as a creator I felt like I won't say I made it, but you feel like you're legitimized when you make the Anna map. Kind of like, wow, I must be doing something right.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool, because that's why I envy, because meaning I do provide one basic service for the community, but you provide full-blown content in a way all of you guys do, and publish modules and stuff. And I must admit that is real brave, and it's real cool, and yeah, you take new heights. So I must acknowledge all of you for that, because now you all module published in modules in a way that I'm not, and I haven't never dared to take in that step, so to speak. So yeah.
On another note, Carlos, Casey saw the power of the duelist parrying the death blow last night.
Nice. Yeah, Casey, I know you're playing a duelist. How do you like playing the class?
It's growing on me. At first, I was like, this guy doesn't do much damage, but then he gets 4 attacks on some rounds, and when I roll high, he turns into a Cuisinart. I think like he's 6th level, and last night he did 36 points of damage in 1 round, I think it was, and there was a crit 62 slashing. I never even looked it up.
There's a character in my pre-gens in Tears of the Forever Stain, the Thief, that I designed to do exactly the same thing you're talking about. He's kind of a punch and shooting hitter until you get him in the right scenario, and when you get him in the right scenario, he just turns into a melee monster. So, Jay, that's something maybe in the next joint project. If you want to make a duelist pre-gen, then that can be included in there.
And everyone, you'll note that when you
maybe Casey's duelist can make it in there.
When you get this, because most of you do, you'll see classes that I wanted people to get just a taste of my campaign. The Necromancer, Bandits, right? Inquisitor, which I know that Jose Ortiz loves his Inquisitor from last night. Gareth Alarm loves the character.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, so I wanted that taste, and that's why. But there's a multitude of other classes that I'd love to throw in there now. Undead Hunter, right, Gary? You love Undead Hunters. Priests of Saint Bane. I got a Priest of Tritherion in there, and Hools. Something like that. There's a lot of direction we can go. So Carlos and I need to get talking on that.
I just heard your campaign, by the way, referred to as Jayhawk. I kind of like it.
Anna calls it 1 point J, right?
No, I
oh, you do it, Casey. I'm sorry.
I get $1 every time someone says it.
Yep.
So, I love it. But the whole encompassing discussion we have here tonight is don't be bashful. Oh, I got to keep my voice down. I'll keep my voice down. I'm sorry. My son's trying to sleep.
I'm about to be yelled at too.
The whole thing is you can do this yourself too. There's people that'll help, and we're not talking about just, I'm going to go out and publish stuff. Write your own works, DM your games, create a little bit of a campaign, and then, down the road, hey, I think I can do this, and that's the whole. There's starting points. There's a ton of starting points. There's a ton of people that'll help you. There's a Cannon Fire site. There's Greyhawk Online. There's all the Earth journals. There's all the bloggers. There's a lot of people. There's Anna. There's if Brian Blumklot shows up again, he it looks like a lot of us are doing heraldry now, which is great. There's Tim. Look at the crazy stuff Tim. I almost said that I got to put up with Tim. So
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's mhm.
But
Someone should have made Tim answer the door in that getup.
he scared.
Send a pizza over to his place.
When he came in, that Gabbin, when he came in with the shield, extort
Yeah.
shield,
Mhm.
he scared my wife. She didn't know who was at the front door because we didn't know it was a surprise. He scared. So Tim is
Yeah.
awesome. There's
Yeah.
no one you'd want in a brawl than Tim. Trust me.
He's a one of a
Exactly, yeah.
kind man, and I mean that in the best way possible.
Yep.
So, man, we've almost gone 3 whole hours here, and note
you
that
It feels like we only done half
I know,
an hour.
and that's the
I want to go
great
to another
thing.
3. Yeah.
that's the,
Don't forget everybody out there that the monster raffle. Jay,
Yeah,
I
so
feel like I
here's-
should explain it again to the
we have a
people.
whole bunch of new people watching from hour 1, and I'm going to tell you what we're giving away. The first winner, we're going to do 3 drawings now,
Mhm.
is this jointly signed copy. This will be only the 5th one out there in existence, dually signed on the inside cover, plus the card, Carlos and me. All right, Heart and Holes. Okay, and I will ship it. Second winner, Carlos, explain what you were going to do with the second winner of the drawing.
Okay, the second winner of the drawing, I'm doing the official module for GrogCon this year. They're doing the naming. They're doing a contest by which the fandom names the module that I'm making for the official convention module. You can go to grogcon.com, I should say, or their Twitter to go ahead and get involved in that if you want to name it. But tonight, what we're doing is we're doing the raffle for choose a monster. You guys get to pick a monster, and I will put it in there. You'll mail after the winner will mail me at castlentertainment.com. They'll tell me the monster that they want to put in there. If there's any weird variants that they want to do, like say they want to make an Arctic owl bear, a polar owl bear, or a panda owl bear in there, or that you can go ahead and you can do that. If you want to make a desert boulet that comes up out of the sand, that
Half red
Sounds
dragon Umber Hulk.
Dragon Umber Hulk.
No
Sounds-
Dragonkin, please.
Sounds fine to me, man. You just come up to me and whoever wins at Castle Entertainment at gmail.com, and we'll talk monsters, and it will appear in there, as will you as a contributor to the module.
And because we had a level 5 hype train, I added a third giveaway, and that was a $25 gift certificate for the third winner
Oh, I hope you're
to Troller Games. Okay, because I have that as well. Now, for everyone out there, you've seen the 3 adventures that are scrolling right at the end. There is Mushroom Blue, there is Warts and All, and there's Tenebris Deep. Back over about 2 years ago, Carlos said, I want to custom write adventures for you for your campaign. And he wrote those 3. He, in fact, wrote Mushroom Blue in one night. He stayed up all night and wrote it and said,
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
yeah. It was like, oh, yeah, I just didn't sleep. I was like, I just talked to you 6 hours ago, and you're giving me, yeah. So,
Is it
and
10 pages? Is it 10 pages or is it shorter than that?
I think it's like 9. I think, but it's
Yeah,
still,
I think it's in that range.
So I am going to give, because it's order of your campaigns, but they're based. You could use them. I have a list of people who wanted them. I will give them to you all in PDF. Just whisper me. You can Discord me, whisper me, email me, and I'd be more than happy to give them to you. Oh, I got an invader cat coming. So I'd be more than happy to give you those 3 adventures so you can take a look and utilize them however you wish. Okay. All right, so why don't we hit up some shout outs, because this will probably take forever too, right?
Sounds good.
Yes, so let's start with Anna tonight. How's that sound?
Okay, yeah. So I'm working hard on the seminar material. It will not be that much because we only have an hour. So
No, we have 2. We have 2 hours.
Oh, we have 2.
We
Okay,
have 2
good.
hours.
Then
We're gonna
then,
raid into
otherwise,
Carlos. Yeah, we're
okay, good. So we have
on
2 hours.
Greyhawk
Yes,
Con. We're gonna
that's good.
raid
So
into
then we have
Carlos.
time for some way more questions and stuff. And I will
Yeah.
not have 67,000 slides this time. There will be some new graphics and stuff, but I also want to have more of a discussion on how to move forward, so to speak. And I want to have ideas and have a little bit more of a discussion and not just feeding you map technology, so to speak. So because I think this might not be the perfect form, but that would definitely be in 45 minutes or something like that. Kind of talk a little bit what the future maps can offer, so to speak, and the future technology. And one of the leading things will be that I want to see my maps as a canvas that you and every DM can use to paint their own adventures on, so to speak. Because I get some very warranted worries that someone said, "Oh, but I have a town there, and don't come and mess up when you start doing detail stuff." So that's one of the things that I want to say, that I want to provide a terrain canvas that with no roads on it at all if you don't want it, and you can paint in your own without too much trouble, so to speak. So that's the idea, to make the map more customizable, to provide every DM with their own canvas that they can learn, and we're using free tools to actually convert into where they want to. And there's a bunch of cool stuff you can actually do down the line with all the data. If you want to have it to forest in an area, you can actually put that in there and make it look as good as I do it, so to speak, with free tools. There is a whole bunch of possibilities down the line that I want to discuss, because I want to bring what I do to more people so they can make their own version of the maps. And tools are getting better and better in the future. So in 10 years time, I will be out of a job and you will all create maps that look like I do. And oh yeah, you probably can. Believe me, it will come. So that way I will have to kind of be the one providing the solutions for the tools that you can then use at the end and help you think more like I do when I do maps. Those are the 2 things that I will do. So I have to transition into it, and honestly, that's what I'm doing. I have to kind of be observant of my own obsolescence in the future, so to speak. So it will. So that will be part of the thing, so to speak. And also I will bring out some oldies. There will be talks about the Atlas. There will be talk about future versions of the map this year, 2021 versions of the map and stuff. So yeah, and there will be, of course, some screenshots of new cool stuff coming. So yeah, I'm actually been sitting and working in Photoshop the entire time, or standing working in Photoshop the entire time here at the show, and I did on the game last night too. So that way I can actually getting forward. So it's looking cool.
I haven't done experience yet, but you will be 6'8" Ranger Mage, so that's a definite.
Awesome!
You're going
Thank you. I leveled up. That's so cool.
Jay hasn't done experience yet from
yeah, they're all done.
The charity game.
No, that's all done.
You haven't told me what Garn got.
Because it doesn't matter. I'm just kidding. I got it all. I just had.
Yep.
Gary Con is killing me.
Yeah,
you all know
buried.
that.
You're buried.
Yeah, Gary Con's killing Josh Zarathon, who's on now too. Trust us, it's killing us.
2 weeks.
Yes. So here's the big thing with this: the Friday night, that the big freaking brouhaha, because you know how I like overlap, because I like raiding into another. Josh, don't whisper me you're going over the top here. I'm not trying to bash anyone. They don't like it. So we have Anna's doesn't fit anywhere in the Gary Con Greyhawk schedule. So it got bumped. This is on Lord Gazumba that night. There'll be an hour crossover with Carlos, but we're going to raid in a mother effing mega audience into Carlos's game, okay, Friday night.
So what you're saying is don't do anything interesting at all for the first
No,
exactly.
Okay.
Now you just told me that I can't do anything interesting for the an hour of
So just know, this in the Greyhawk After Dark chats, there's no room for them really. And the Greyhawk After Dark chats are kind of impromptu, and I was like, I don't want to go into this hardcore schedule. Those are all on my channel, all right, besides other stuff that make it dual, but you're not going to find them on Gary Con Greyhawk because of the little glitch here. Just note that, but that's okay, all right? So it's just one of those things. Yeah, you're going to kill me, Josh, please. Yeah, so Anna is. I can't wait for it. I'm prepping all the shows now as we speak for XSplit and all. So, but yeah, looking forward to it, Anna. Looking forward
Thank
to it.
you. Yep.
Casey, what's up?
I'm just prepping for Wednesday. We've got the Women of Living Greyhawk show on Legends and Lore with Anna, Mike, and Jay, which I'm very much looking forward to because the older I get, the more I realize what I don't know just because of, say, my life experiences as a male, right? As a man. And so I want to hear from Susan, Denise, Judy, and Tony
Sorry.
about their experiences and whether or not they differed. We're all gamers, but I think that's something as I get older, I come to appreciate that there's so many more points of view than I ever imagined when I was younger. Even when Susan and I were working on Living Greyhawk stuff 15 years or so ago, it just never occurred to me, that those kinds of differences might matter. And now I want to know. So anyway, and then after that, in 2 weeks at GaryCon, I'm running my Bandit Kingdoms tournament 3 times, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And it's the same as Virtual Greyhawk Con. So if you got to play at a Virtual Greyhawk Con, please don't sign up for it because, I'll kick you out. But it has the prizes. Well, they'll kind of know. Don't go in that room. That's the bad room. They're all bad. Yeah, they're all bad rooms in this tournament. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be on Roll20. And I've been chirping at Jay. Like, you know what, Jay? I think before I retire this, I want you to broadcast it one time, but I've never streamed my DMing live. So we'll see if I can talk him into
these
it.
2 weeks. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
no, I could
Saturday
do that.
night when we have nothing scheduled.
So I'm putting it out there to all of you. This happened during Greyhawk Con, the same tournament. If you didn't sign up for it and you can fit it in the schedule, it's worth it. So it's worth one of these 3 going in one of these 3 games.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So what's Casey's module name? Go ahead, throw it up there. What is it called?
Vengeance in the Bandit Kingdoms.
Vengeance in the Bandit Kingdoms, and there are events in like the 260s. I think it's 264, 63.
No. It's
numbers
during Living Greyhawk.
No.
Oh,
the numbers in
numbers.
GaryCon. It's like 262, 263, 264. I believe it's those 3. 62, 63, 64. Vengeance in the Bandit Kingdoms.
Just look for my name too.
Type 5. It's in Type 5. Okay. So note that, and it was another great thing.
It's Pathfinder First Edition, but I haven't played Pathfinder, I haven't written Pathfinder in a while. So I think during the tournament in October, I was relying on the players to, know some Pathfinder, and then it all kind of came back to all of us. So it was just a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And there's going to be prizes. Again, I'll be giving away copies of my books, and I want people to vote on MVP of the table, which is what the RPGA used to do when they ran tournaments at conventions. So yep. And then after that, hopefully I can get back into writing. Now that we've bought our house, we're unpacking. We revealed today that we have a new kitten that we've adopted. This is our 4th cat. We had one die last summer, and one of our 3 cats has been rather lonely, so we decided to try and get that cat a cat.
That's okay.
So we'll see how it goes.
And I've done my damnness the last 2 adventures, the fundraiser with Garn and last night to kill Casey, and I haven't been able to do it. So
that's all right. It'll happen eventually.
Dave DM last night is, do you want a bunch of special? I was like, no. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
The easy way for you to do that is just invite Garn to a 10th level, 11th level adventure, but not tell me.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be that brutal. Come on, we're having fun with it. And I will say this, and I was really touched. Eric Mengi sent me a really nice email because I tied in. I did a custom Mayaheen named weapon that his character got, and he was really touched by it. And I was like, that really, because Eric's a big name, Baldman Games and writing. He does a lot of the Moonshade writing. It was cool. It was really cool. So thank you, Eric, if you're out there watching.
It was awesome fun.
And thank you, Casey and Gary.
Thank you.
What's going on, Gary?
Oh, not much. As always,
Sparring Castle.
As always. Oh, well, that's way down the list. I need 4 or 5 post-its for that.
Gary's
As
a
usual,
true
you can find me on
mess.
the Cannon Fire Discord, Grey Talk, where if you have Greyhawk ideas, share them there, and you're going to find someone who's going to willing to talk to you about them and bounce those ideas around. As far as personal
Gary William.
projects, of course, we also have the Underdark Post Fest.
Yeah.
We've decided to extend it a little further. It was a little too ambitious to get it in before Gary Con, and so we're going to extend it a couple of weeks, and that is, already heading towards 50 pages. So
Gary
it's
William.
going to be massive. Any idea you might have for something, lore, history, races, magic in the Underdark, that's the kind of article we're looking for, and we're going to put that together as a PDF and distribute it to the fandom. Another project I'm working on is with my friend Cannibal here, who's probably still on.
Yep, Troy.
Is we're working on an undersea map of the Azure Sea and Densek Gulf.
Nice.
So if you've ever wanted to know where various racial kingdoms are, special locations, that is going to be available down the road. So that I probably should have
Awesome,
put that
Troy.
one last, because that's a little more long term. But we'll get a preview of that in what is my next topic, the Isle of Dread, Legends and Lore, 10 days from now. Jay's kindly asked me to come on and talk about Isle of Dread, what we did for pulling it into Greyhawk, how it's different, what you can expect to find interesting for a Greyhawk campaign in it. And I'm handing out a PDF. So whoever comes that day, I'm going to give you a link, grab the PDF, and it's going to be...
Here's the cover.
Well, we're already working on another one, Jay.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I've already gotten volunteers.
Come on,
to
but
help.
it's got a dinosaur and it'll drive Jonathan
I
Box
know.
crazy.
So this gives you the feel.
Yeah,
So
I thought I had.
so that's about 10 days from now, and I'll let Jay talk about the events at GaryCon.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Gary. I thought I had a what do you call it, made up for it, a banner for your Isle of Dread, because I was that far ahead, and I can't find it. So, but I know it's somewhere in my machine here. But yeah, I'll talk about that stuff. Carlos, what is going on, man? Here it
I
is.
have a couple things I want to say first.
There it
Casey,
is.
I see that there's in chat here. It says, I want to decorate the Rift Canyon with pretty flowers.
Oh, I missed that.
I see that from JB Garrison. Did they, it's way up there. Did you, are there any pretty flowers to be found in the Rift Canyon? I got to turn to an expert.
Oh, that's a good question. I would say no, but I would actually ask Anna. I think it's an arid,
No,
Deer.
I don't.
the
I don't
Rift
think,
Barrens are
I don't
arid.
think necessarily, because first of all, and this is kind of cool, because someone posted on Flanders Geographical Society links to articles about the Rift Canyon that was really cool, with tons of interesting examples of what could be there, and there were lakes and everything from meadows to whatever, and it's interesting. Think about the size of it. It's over 200 miles long and 50 miles wide.
Yeah.
Meaning it's an area,
It gets
larger
sunlight.
than a lot of counties in America, meaning that even the biggest ones, it's like a huge area. It's almost the size of some of the smallest states in America, probably even bigger than some of the smallest states. So it's a huge area that can have hundreds of different locations and stuff, meaning you can have lakes that are 10 square miles and they will vanish. They will barely, and think about it, on the Darlene map, each hex is 30 by 30 miles. On my map, each pixel is 1 mile. So things can be there that are significant in an adventure, meaning you can have a lake that the characters can't swim over before they're killed on the way, that is so small that is not even visible on any other big maps. So we that way it's a lot of it, and you have the depth, and even the way I envision it, that is like a counter to Lake Nirdiv. It's unknown depths. You can have really deep in some areas. That means that there could be islands sticking up, and I painted a lot of them
Mesas.
mesas and stuff that sticks up, that could host a whole bunch of stuff. And you can have a few of them that are a few thousand feet down. There could be whole plateaus and mesas that are 100 square miles, 500 square miles, and they still only fill up maybe 5% of the whole Rift Canyon, so to speak.
Yeah,
And
I throw
some of them
kobolds
can
in the
be even-
mesas and things like that.
Yeah, Exactly. And then some of them can be even further down. And since think of it as a 3-dimensional, because the cool thing is you can have a mesa, but there can be dungeons in the mesa. So you can have, it's a 3-dimensional environment, which means that it's not only a flat surface, you have multiple. Think of it as a mega dungeon with a lot of outdoors that are, what is it like? Yeah, tens of thousands of square miles big, and then it's also cubic miles, millions of them down, so to speak. So it's basically an endless mini campaign setting you can make. So if you start thinking of it 100 miles deep or 150 miles to the very bottom of the features, so to speak, and then you can have lakes, you can have all sorts of cool things that are in there, dungeons going in on the sides, that the Underdark can all of a sudden have a balcony out to the real world, so to speak. And shadow planner, abyssal connections, all sorts of cool things.
The Caillou stuff over in the western side and whatnot.
So meaning the size of it, meaning one end of it that's 200 miles away to the other end, and meaning that's so that opens up, the sheer size of it opens up so many interesting possibilities that I think we should kind of try and make use of the size of the place for interesting things. Yeah.
Gary, you good? You want me? You go? I go to Carlos.
Yes, absolutely.
Carlos.
The other question I wanted to ask Casey is: did you ever contribute on with Will on Bandit King's stuff? Did you guys ever collaborate?
No, we're not at that point. Quite, he's doing one thing, and I'm not. I haven't been working
totally
on
fine.
anything.
I just wondered if
no, it's not a bad idea. I think a couple years ago I reached out to him about trying to play in his Bandit Kingdoms game, but we didn't know each other at the time. And he had other people that were better suited for that.
Casey's mine now.
Oh, I'm getting fought over.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
listen.
Incredibly gratifying.
Having the living Greyhawk people every once a month or whatever is awesome.
Well, I gotta
say, groups.
We are very lucky that Jay reaches out to us and lets us play with him, because it's the only time I get to play instead of DMing. And even if I bicker at him about some of the rule stuff, like I got the Thaco wrong because I was looking at 2nd edition.
Yes, you were.
And I should have remembered 1.J. It's not 2.J. It's 1.J.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's true. I had it wrong. I thought it was 2.J first, but I realized now I've played in 10, 15, 20 sessions that it actually is 1.J.
The 2nd edition is melded back into the first.
Yeah.
So, so Carlos,
you should unmeld Thaco.
I wanted to ask before I went further is I noticed that Gary missed a project that he is currently working on, which is the idea that he was going to send to me about publication.
Oh yeah, Carlos, I'm cutting off the projects just at Gary Con. There's a ton of projects after that.
I'm just kidding, brother.
We all got to get through Gary Con. Let me tell you.
There's Spine Castle. There's that module. There's Q-Land. Something on Gradsoul. Oh,
Gary, I know you punted this to Jay, but who are you playing at the Joust?
Yeah, you missed that. But
oh, you've already talked about that.
Yeah. He's playing the Black Knight of Greyhawk.
That's awesome.
We have a miniature. Build-A-Master Crafter has done us well with the 17 custom painted Reaper miniatures for each character in the adventure. Ooh, why is there 17? There should only be 16. I wonder.
I'll post a description on Jay's Discord.
Yeah, that would be cool. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So stats are all up.
Well, give them hell, Gary.
Still 6 open signups last time I checked for that too. So for the Grand Joust of Altamira, Canadian and Cannibal are my special guests. Just so you're aware, they're joining it too. So, all right. Now, what else you got on shoutouts, Carlos?
Well, for me, I'm working on the module that I will be publishing for April, which is the 9. We talked about it quite a bit earlier, so I'll leave it at that. I'm also working on the Patreon stuff for April right now, which is all going to be Great Kingdom themed. And Sea of Medigi area themed, to be exact. Beyond that, I am also currently working on, I have been plinking around a little bit with Fireland again, so that's good. I have been, and I'm a little bit further ahead down the road, I'm also working on the module after that, for the 9. So, yeah, it's a busy time, and hopefully, you guys you'll be able to see something from me here in April and probably in June as well. So, as far as module releases go, that is.
And always looking forward. I know, man, you got some hype about the 9 now, and I can't wait to watch that too. That's going to be awesome. I don't know when I'm going to sleep in 2 weekends. I mean, I thought the fundraiser was bad. Oh man, but I'm just going to have fun with it. I took the 2 days off from work beforehand. It's going to be massive. All right, I got a ton of thanks for this great show, great discussion. Stick tight. We got all these giveaways still. So now. Yeah, maybe it is a hell of a drug, but you may be right there. So Wednesday night, we got a great one for you. The Women of Living Greyhawk. Myself, Mike, Anna, Casey will be joining. Go over the 4 that are definites, Casey.
Susan from the Bandit Kingdoms, my colleague from way back in the day. Denise Malden from the Duchy of Ernst, who was on one of our shows towards the end of last year. And then Judy Randolph from Keeland, who's been on before and is also a member of the Barrier Geeks, sort of cannon fodder, but she fits in Barrier Geeks. She just wasn't able to make it last night. And then Tony Winslow Brill, I believe,
Yep,
is Tony's full name. She was a author for High Folk. So our first non-triad guest, but the reason is she wrote so much for High Folk, and she was invited basically to be triad and just didn't due to life, getting in the way.
And has a publication in the new Candlekeep book.
Oh, and has one of the adventures in
Candlekeep
Mysteries book.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
No big deal. We're having this nice person, Tony, on, and we're trying to get her also into the Barrier Geeks or
I
Cannon
talked to her.
Fodder
She's in the next adventure.
Right.
Yeah, she's
So-
definitely in for the next one.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I'm really looking forward to that.
I haven't even started writing Thursday Night's Adventure, so don't even ask me what I'm doing Thursday. It's
You
a
write?
one-shotter
You write
because
these
Gary
things?
Con. What's that? Well,
I
know.
thought you just grabbed minis and threw them out there. and pull out the
Oh,
stats.
that's
Meaning just
funny.
bring it. Yeah.
That's funny. Next Saturday, we start the Gary Con ramp up. Gabbin number 130, Gabbin number 137, Gary Con 13 preview. Luke Gygax on the first hour. First time ever guest Stefan Picorni on the second hour.
Right.
He's cool.
Okay, so that'll be a blast. So that'll be a nice Gabbin. And Troller Games, you want to be on. Troller Games is giving away on that show 4 Gaxmore hard copies, 2 in Castles and Crusades. Okay, I'm too loud for my son. 2 in Castles and Crusades. I'll keep it down, and 2 in 5e. So 4 giveaways. We're almost done. I'm sorry. I'm keeping my son up.
Not like he has to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, like me.
Says the guy with no kids.
Yeah. So that is then. Okay. Gary Con stuff. I've only done some of the banners. I'm getting there. I've showed some of them. Oh, I have to toot someone's horn, even though he doesn't want it tooted. Will you all please do me a favor and scroll down and go down on all my buttons and go down to the one that says Build a Master Crafter, which shows his jousting arena, and click on that, and please follow him on Instagram if you haven't. He really needs some love there. I want to show you what he's made. Here are the stables for the joust that are just finished for him. This is a 3D print from our
Wow.
sponsor, Infinite Dimensions. Look at the inside. It's even got hay on the inside.
Yeah.
All right. That
Wow.
is, I mean, if you're talking about unbelievable craft work, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
just
can
I
smell the
almost
manure.
canceled my Saturday night BK tourney so I could strong arm Jay into letting Garn attend this thing. I don't care if he's just in the crowd because this setup looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome if you could have
Imri and,
a virtual
and Gord
crowd.
can be in the crowd cheering, and the other ones can. Yeah, that will be a plan.
Infinite
So we-
Dimension,
yep.
Infinite Dimensions and Gamescape 3D have really taken our table up to a new level. So, with all, just now we got to get our 3D printer up and running. The part, hopefully got the parts today. Because, we had been using it so much it kind of went down. So, here's what's going on. The ones I had banners for Gary Con. Note once again, Carlos's game is sold out. My Hool's part 1 is, but not part 2. Tim's game is out, but everything else still has signups. You have the Thursday night's main event, one of them, before Fable 42 goes on, we have the DM's roundtable discussion. So we're going to have Steven Chenault, Jason Vey, Chuck Cumbo, all from Troller Games. Time Lord's wife, Kayla, you still on? Is going to be our newbie comer to that with Anna and me, and William Henry Dvorak will join, and that'll be Thursday night. I won't have a D&D game that night, so because I have to have the train set up for Horror and Hools Friday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning. It just won't work. So that's DM's Roundtable is that night. We're right into back into Fable 42 on Gary Con. Actually, we will be on the same channel, so we got to get that done. Then Anna's is Friday night at 6, and it'll be 2 hours. Carlos will be on for an hour. We're going to raid in from Lord Kazamba in the Gary Con Greyhawk, so we'll have a monster audience that night. And then the Sunday night mega finale event, Greyhawk Ask the Experts, Eric Mona, Gary Julian, Grow Dog Alan Growy, Eric Boyd, the genius when it comes to specialty priests and deities, and Malden, Dennis Tetra will all be on there, and that'll be like a Gabbin Sunday night show, and just you can ask them anything.
That's an amazing lineup.
Yeah. That is some heavy hitters.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. What fun that will be to finish up Gary Con. So, and note of all the
Geritol.
Yeah. Note that there's a ton of other stuff I'll start talking about this upcoming week. I'll mostly talk about it on the wrap-up, the GaryCon preview show next Sunday. We'll go over a lot of stuff. We'll see who needs some sign-ups. We'll talk about that, once we have Luke and Stefan on, and then we'll go along, and we'll really get GaryCon all hyped up. Note that the Gary Julian show will be the night before Gary Con starts up, right? So that is like huge, right, Gary? You're gonna have that big discussion on this. Will be the night before Gary Con starts. That is everything about the Isle of Dread with Gary Julian with that special giveaway. So note that that'll be a real blast. And the next morning, Mike Disney starts it off, and then Kayla is second, Time Lord's wife. And then we just rock and roll throughout the whole thing, 24-hour coverage on that channel for 4 days. Whew, man, that's going to be crazy. All right, let's do the giveaways. I'm going to close it out. Last call. Anyone want to get in these? The winner of the first one is going to get this, obviously, and then I'm assuming the second pick will want the monster, and the third pick will want the $25 gift certificate to Troller Games. Notice my voice is going now. All right, I'm going to close this out. Closing it out. Jay, don't hit wrong buttons. Yes, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer there, Corey. Last call for alcohol. Are you ready? The winner is Obsidian Risk, a very new, recent subscriber. Is he on?
Obsidian
He's
Risk.
not on.
But he's a subscriber.
Oh, brutal.
But he's a subscriber. Can't he? No.
No. Only no. You have to be on the claim. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
He's not on, everyone. He's not on at all.
He is.
Oh, he is. It's not showing. You're
Well
in.
done,
You're on.
Yes,
Oh, thank
awesome.
God. You didn't show up in
Yes.
the list, Obsidian. All right,
Yes,
Obsidian,
that is so
thank you
good.
very much. You
Yeah,
are the winner.
Congratulations. Yep.
I'm glad that you chimed up. Please whisper me full name, full address, so I can send it to
okay.
you.
Let's see who my co-conspirator is going to be.
The co-conspirator for this great new module is
Let's see.
Time Lord's wife, Kayla.
Cool.
You get to pick the monster.
Congratulations. Yeah.
That is awesome. All right,
Kayla, please email me at castleentertainment.com or at gmail.com, and we will conspire together.
Kayla, I will get you. I will give you that email on your Discord. All right, I'll send it to you Discord wise. All right.
Outstanding.
All right, and the final winner, $25 gift certificate to Troller Games is 2000 Caesar won last night too. Holy schmolies!
Wow.
2000 Caesar, you are the winner. Wow, the 2 nights. I got to get you the
I'm pretty
coins,
sure he
too.
kept Yisak alive last night,
He
so I'm
did.
not going to complain
Yeah.
that he won again.
He did.
Even though 2000 Caesar, you did give Jay a special. We did see that,
Yeah, that made
but
the
I
game.
I forgive you.
Yep.
Yeah, let me just
It
check
was
that.
a good
I think he's
call, so
on
yeah.
too. All right, so we're going to raid into 20. I think we're going to go into 20 sides to every story. Give them a little love. All right. Hopefully they're not finishing up. I think they're on. So I'm going to close this out, and we're going to raid in. And what a wonderful night! Thank you all so very much for a
Hey,
monster
thanks for letting me
audience.
drop on. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
sure.
drop off so you guys
Sure.
can wrap up. But Carlos, I
Yeah.
look forward to catching the replay.
Good seeing you
We were
again.
dealing with New Kitty tonight, so I wasn't
Well,
able
it's
to watch
totally
live.
fine. New Kitty is way more important than I am. Believe me. You know I love cats. So
And it's always great when Gary's on the show. So I really look forward to catching
Yeah.
this one. I figured out how to cast from my laptop to my TV so I can watch it during work. So I'll see y'all. Everyone
See you
have a
all,
great night.
See you all here Wednesday night for a great
See y'all on
Legends of Lore.
Wednesday.
We'll see you soon. Raid setting up. Raid. Jay's gonna hit the right button.
it's good.
Where is it? Starting it up. Let's get over 70. That's my goal. Over 70. There we go.
Yep,
Oh my
70.
God. 69.
Yep.
5,
70.
74,
70.
3, 2, 1. See you Wednesday night.
It's a nice picture.
Well, guys, what'd you think? Did it turn out okay?
Awesome.
Oh yes. Thank you.
Awesome.
This was
Gary,
awesome.
thank you for coming by and stopping by, man.